Emma, what's wrong?
I'm getting a severe psychic disturbance, as if from some major event that happened 10 years ago.
10 years ago? That was between Phalanx Covenant and the 12. Nothing important happened then.
What about Onslaught?
We just pretend that never happened. For the professor's sake.
Ah!
Yeah, did you mean the Fantastic Four movie?
Worse.
Episode of Rolling 20s. We are the show that defeated Galactus in a hot dog eating competition. I am Jeremy.
Steve. I am not that fat.
And V.
Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on Stitcher and iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter at The Rolling 20s. You can send me any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. At the beginning of the show, you heard a clip from Floating Hand Studios' X-Men Revisiting Prophet. You also heard music by Machine Supremacy. You can find most of their discography for free download at machinesupremacy.com, as well as their latest couple of albums on amazon.com. I don't have words yet. How are you guys doing today?
I'm in an interesting, mood.
You still have that half-drunk thing going on. I was telling the others before the show started that I got this text from you that just said, getting up. So I got the text equivalent. Yeah. Okay.
I was like, don't call me. I'm working on it.
If I have to hear your voice, I will murder you. No, Steve's been poking at me because I live in Southern California, and for the last week it's been interesting. The ground keeps moving, and I assume that means I don't have like one of those tremor-style worms running under the ground. I think there's something going on down there.
Maybe it's that object that they found in, where was it, Washington?
I was afraid you were going to say something.
It turned out to be, an old subway thing?
Oh, that's so boring.
Yeah.
Oh, so they found, it was a station, a subway car?
I don't remember now. But yeah, it wasn't anything special. I remember seeing an article on it.
So disappointing.
I know.
I was almost wondering for a while if this was going to be some kind of cross promotion. You know, they found this robotic Tyrannosaurus underneath Seattle. Or even better, they burst through it. They found it's an old sewer pipe, and they get attacked by 4 crazy turtles.
And a rat.
You never know with the world. We're scheduled today to talk to Mark Cronan regarding the 5th edition of D&D. However, I haven't heard from him in a few days. So if he doesn't come through in time, we're going to do more of our fixing and unfixing comic book events in time, since the last one just was fucking entertaining.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we'll get into what we usually have, including our Kickstarter corner. The cat cafes are still turning out to be a hard sell in this damn country.
Why?
We have Carlos Wong of Los Angeles, California. He has a Kickstarter currently running to put together a cat cafe in Los Angeles. His Kickstarter has 27 hours to go. It ends on Monday, March 31st. Has 355 backers. The goal is $350,000. Currently has $9,512.
Yeah.
Am I wrong, or is that the exact same amount we saw last week?
I'm thinking so.
Oof. I mean, I don't even like the idea of going to Oakland. I don't like thinking about Oakland, but for Christ's sake, that guy got like 10 times the money this kid did.
Well, I think part of it is,
just running out of hope, or what?
Yeah. Once it gets past a certain point, if it doesn't look for like people are just like, eh.
Yeah, that's true.
And this guy had like lofty stretch goals. He thought he could get up to $550,000 for fully catered events for local and Local nonprofits and orphanages.
Oh, maybe that'll have scare people off. They're going to be like, "What? You're totally not based in reality."
Well, his for his $400,000 stretch goal was a user-controlled 24/7 kitty cam. I guess my first thought is, what user? Is this going to be like Twitch? You know, everybody gives it commands and is just sitting there eking back and forth trying to see cats. You know, $450,000 in an LA themed cat jungle gym.
Someone has a lot of faith in cats.
Yeah, I mean, I assume he means a cat's jungle gym that has an LA motif. If not, that means he's going to run like humans through this cat-themed habit trail. I don't know. Right. It's just... Well,
far-fetched.
yeah, 7 hours to go and a need of $340,000. I think we can call this DOA.
Yep.
Agreed.
Okay. Also in its final days is Hi-Fi Color for Comics. Hi-Fi Color Design and Brian Miller of Surprise, Arizona, is putting together a digital book on how to... or not a digital book. Well, I guess a digital and print book for how to digitally color flat images in comic pages. It has 3 days to go, has 641 backers. The goal is $14,900. Currently sits at $23,797.
Nice.
So, I mean, I know we checked in last week and he went beyond his goal, but now it's bounced beyond that several times.
Yeah.
Justin, looking it up, he's actually met a couple of his stretch goals. We said last week at $19,900, he's spiral binding all of the hardcover books he's sending.
Nice.
He's also sending a folding book stand and a quick reference card. Holy crap, I'm going to find that useful. And he's also passed his 22,500 goal, color theory for comics.
Ooh.
He's adding a new chapter to the book, including tutorials on color selection, warm and cool colors, color design for characters, settings, new color swatches, brushes, hi-fi helpers for each new tutorial, artwork for each new tutorial, and a bonus art pack of sequential pages from Mike Norton's Battle Pug comic.
Nice.
And let me see, 24. He's actually off. No, he's at 23,797. If he can get 1,300 in the next couple of days, he gets another stretch goal.
Awesome.
A new chapter about light and shadow, with artwork and swatches, and a bonus art pack from Scott Wegner's Atomic Robo. And another chapter regarding color calibration. Jeez. Getting a heck of a lot more than I thought. No, I think it's cool. I mean, like I said, I ordered this. I'm getting the digital... God, what level did I get in? I think I'm talking so fast because I'm fracking excited, you know? I mean, I'm getting I backed it for $25. I'm getting the base print edition, so I actually am getting some of this shite.
Nice.
Chill, man, chill. Calm down.
Oh, it's cool. This is what I said before. This is one of my hobbies. I mess around with digital coloring programs simply because it entertains me. You know, I get to do something non-destructive. That's rare in my life. What? I had 3 kids. You could argue I've broken more shit than any of you combined.
Well, creating them was non-destructive.
You would have to ask my wife about that, but I've heard comments to the contrary. Let's see. Another Kickstarter we have is actually completed. Black Tiger comic book movie with Robin Shou and Angela Fong. Beyond Time Incorporated of Duarte, California, has a Kickstarter for a small 20-minute movie regarding the comic book character of Black Tiger, whose father was killed, and she's looking for revenge. It had 234 backers and ended 5 days ago, which would be the 16th. Was it the 16th? No.
The 26th.
No, it wouldn't be the 26th either. It would be the
25th.
Yeah.
25th. Okay, math is fun. It had 234 backers. The goal was $12,000. It currently, or its final tally is $13,907.
Oh, so it got done.
Yeah. So the idea is they're going to finish the production on this, and they're going to debut it at WonderCon. But I am still kind of amazed that Robin Shou would agree to be a character named Pacific Fong. It just sounds like 3 stereotypes all mashed together.
Well, I got nothing.
Maybe I'm being insensitive, but there's something about this that is just not cool to me. But
I think we have heard of worse things.
Probably.
Like the bad guy in Expendables 2.
I've actually never watched it.
Oh, good.
Me neither. Well, I mean, I have, but I don't remember the name of it.
Delane.
Delane?
Delane. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
If you say it fast enough, I actually look at how it's spelled, it's villain.
I wasn't listening to the words.
I think I have a mental block when it comes to Van Damme movies lately. Maybe that's why I haven't seen it.
I didn't even realize it was Van Damme when I was seeing it. I was like, dude, that guy knows how to kick.
Well, it probably would have saved the movie if, in the last battle, Stallone suddenly strips down to a pair of Stars and Stripes boxers, puts on a pair of gloves, and just starts wailing on him. Hear Eye of the Tiger in the background.
I enjoyed the movie. I just don't remember
I felt so terrible. in the same vein of a typical 80s film.
Yeah,
I figured that was the point, and I was okay with it.
That's usually why these movies are made. They're 80s throwbacks. But I just want to go back to the comment of, I really liked it, I just don't remember anything about it. Usually that's the comment I have when I really fucking despise something.
Well, I mean, I remember all the action sequences. I don't remember what the plot was.
What plot?
Oh, yeah, The Expendables 2, the movie where all that stuff blew up and people got shot? Yeah, and there was acting in it. There was acting?
You sure it wasn't Michael Bay who did this one?
Pretty sure, because Michael Bay would do something at least awesome enough where shit would explode. Huge. Let me see. Another Kickstarter we have is Earthlock, Festival of Magic. Let me see. This is by Snowcastle Games of Oslo, Norway. It's an original turn-based role-playing game set in a world of machines and magic and a world that stopped spinning thousands of years ago. The gameplay doesn't sound terribly different from a lot of things already out there, but I gotta admit, the description has me extremely curious.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like an original concept at the very least, but it has 12 days to go. This project ends on April 11th. 2,541 backers. The goal is $150,000. Currently sits at $83,038. This is going to be interesting to see how it finishes. Because right now it's got a 50-50 prospect. I was kind of hoping to be further along by now. Because this is one of those things I might not back initially because RPGs are, they're hit and miss prospects for me. But I would like to see some reviews on how this plays out. Another game we've been following lately is Pro Wrestling X. Wrestling Gamers United of Lethbridge, Canada have put together a throwback wrestling game similar to the N64 days of World Wrestling Federation games with original characters. They have 8 days to go, and this ends on April 7th. 470 backers. The goal is 6,400 Canadian. They currently have 15,197 Canadian.
Wow.
There is apparently some love out there for wrestling games, but some of that probably has to do with the idea that if you back this at the first level of $15, you get the game.
Wow.
It's not bad.
That might have been too low.
It doesn't look like they've had to put a heck of a lot of work in it, because while the graphics engine just does look fairly up to date, the style of game is definitely a throwback to Super Nintendo days. It doesn't have to be terribly complicated.
True. No.
Fair.
So they may spend more time trying to put an audience in this than actually working on the wrestlers. But if the graphics are similar to the base styles they put together here, at least the promo pictures, this could actually be rather interesting to look at. I just don't know if I want to stare at a bunch of luchadors. They've never been my favorite type of character. Further news. The Onion Project, that is no longer a Kickstarter. David Prassel of Chicago, Illinois has apparently thrown in the towel and canceled the Kickstarter.
Oh.
He did it actually 6 days ago, so the day after we talked about it, he yanked it. It had 496 backers. The goal was $200,000. He ended at $20,251. So this is not happening. I guess I go back to the theory that if you keep promising people that you back one of the projects and you get all of them from, past and present, no one really has a need to put in money, even if they like your style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, I think he diluted his base a bit too far. I'll talk about the opposite end of the spectrum. I just watched this go up another $250. Pono Music, where your soul rediscovers music. The Pono team of San Francisco, California, was putting together a music player that's supposed to add digital fidelity back to a lot of the digital copies of music. I've read a couple times that certain recording artists say that the current form of music compression and storage, the digital version that started up with CDs and is now very prevalent in MP3s, seems to take away a lot of the musical depth, and Pono claims that this player can actually put a lot of that depth back into the music.
I totally believe that because I was listening to The Zombies She's Not There not too long ago, and it just doesn't sound the same when it's not on vinyl.
I've listened to a few songs on vinyl simply because my parents have a very extensive record collection, so I hear a lot of 70s stuff. And I gotta admit, the stuff booming out of their speakers sounds much deeper than most of the music I have in my digital collection.
Yeah.
Well, this project has 16 days to go. It ends on April 15th. It's been a long-term Kickstarter. Has 14,920 backers. Their goal was $800,000. They currently sit at $5,057,587.
Wow.
Wow.
That was not one of my famous flubs. That is the actual number. $5,057,587. Now, we've discussed, these guys have been on over a dozen different websites and tech blogs.
Yeah, it really seems to help.
The word out there is already out. It would also definitely help by the fact that, the early bird version of getting this player was $200. The actual retail of this appears to be in the range of $400. These things are not inexpensive.
Right.
But the unfortunate thing is I think at least Americans have been preconditioned to get these things because arguably some people are paying $600 for new cell phones as soon as they come out.
Yeah, I was going to say that might be not cheap, but I mean, it's not outside of a reach of someone like me.
No.
It require a little bit of saving.
I know. Just about any of us in this room can get one of these with a little bit of scrimping and saving, but, some of us would have to ignore several other things to get it done.
Yeah.
Like good food.
Yeah. It's the unfortunate reality of this thing is, for me, is because I've never seen one. I would have to get one in hands before I'm sure whether or not I'm going to buy it. That's just my reality. I have to see one.
It's not a bad thing to have.
I would wait for like a year for all the issues to be ironed out for me personally.
The one thing I do notice is in looking at all the pictures, you could actually share music without handing somebody your earbuds. These things appear to have 2 audio jacks on top of each one.
Nice.
So, it's a curiosity. Something else we've been following for a while is Planets Cubed by Cubicle Drift. It appears to be a more complicated version of Minecraft. It's a voxel-based RPG. It has 6 days to go and ends on April 5th. It has 6,439 backers. The goal is $250,000. This one gets more compelling in the weeks we follow it, because right now it sits at $188,290. It does keep increasing from week to week. It's just a matter of whether or not the ratio of money is keeping up with the time left in the Kickstarter.
Mm.
But this does look more compelling to me than Minecraft. I know a lot of people enjoy Minecraft. It's one of those things where it doesn't appeal to me visually, so I've never really gotten into it.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Same here. Even though I know there are skins for it.
Yeah. Planets Cubed, though, is much more visually appealing. It feels more like a throwback style of graphics rather than, the ancient style of graphics Minecraft has. So I don't know if I'd play it, but I do find it much more interesting to look at. We've also been following the Indiegogo for I Want My Nerd HQ 2014. Transmedia of San Diego in the United States, as well as... I forgot his name. The guy who played Chuck in the TV series for several years.
I don't know his name, but I know who you're talking about.
Chuck?
Yeah, the actor. I feel bad. He was on a TV series called Chuck.
Oh.
Crap. I forgot his name, and that's totally my bad. But he usually, for the last couple of years, he's had an event outside San Diego Comic-Con called Nerd HQ, where he brings in several stars, and they do pod shows as well as private shows. It's usually some kind of ticketed event. And the rates, or the reviews of it are always high, but the problem is they're just running low on funds, and they're looking for an Indiegogo to fund the next project.
Zachary Levi,
thank you.
Yeah.
It has 27 days to go. It ends on April 25th. The goal is $1 million. Currently sits at $212,535.
That's really decent.
It seems
fourth of the way there.
Almost. Is it just me, or does it seem like it's bumped to like 100,000 since the last time we talked about this?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it would be worthwhile to help out this show, and I'm not saying that as somebody going to San Diego and desperate for entertainment. I got enough shit to do already. I say that because in the few years, he's already had guests like Vin Diesel, Tom Hiddleston, Seth Green, Joss Whedon, Jared Padalecki, Matt Smith, and several others.
I know all those people.
Yeah, the guy is prolific. And he manages to pull down some really interesting guests. And what the venue he wants, there's actually a few things to do. Apparently, at the last Nerd HQ, there was dancing, there was gaming, there were photo ops with several stars. You know, he actually puts up a mini show, and he even had a screening of Serenity on 2013 on the Petco Field Park.
Nice.
Petco Park.
Nice.
Wow. Okay, dyslexia went wild. There, I actually see a picture of people sitting on the baseball field where the San Diego Padres play, watching Serenity.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's actually a trippy thing. So if there was a, this is one of those convention Kickstarter type items or crowdfunders I would actually get behind simply because the guy puts on good shows. I found a new Kickstarter for a comic book of Sprocket the Comic Cat. I'm not kidding. It's an official comic book of the Spokane Comic-Con mascot. I guess Spokane Comic-Con, their mascot is a cat. I just came across this by Matthew Brazzi, Post Falls, Indiana, I believe. It has 24 days to go. This ends on April 23rd and has 20 backers. The goal is a measly $900. Currently sits at $676. He's got a good chance of getting this done already. There's not much else to say. It's a comic book about a comic cat. I did find another Kickstarter for E-Depth Angel. It's an anime-style project, but it's being done by somebody that calls himself Mei Xing of Hillsborough, New Jersey. An Asian name out of New Jersey. I'm amazed that this person wasn't found already. It's supposed to be an animated project where someone is hired as a nurse for cyborgs, and she finds herself thrown into mech battles in a cyborg family gang war. I have no freaking clue.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it has 36 days to go. It ends on May 5th. Has 59 backers, a goal of $47,000. Currently sits at $4,179. 59 backers put in almost $100 per person, if I'm reading that correctly.
Yeah, that's wow.
Yeah. So he obviously has some interest in this. It's hard to tell how much. But if you back for $5,000, you get all physical and digital rewards. No cameo in the series, though. Private viewing access, your company logo, opening credits, product insert commercial, ticket to the pre-screening, and dinner with the crew.
Nice.
I don't know if they fly you out there for that. You see, and the last Kickstarter I have is called Dragon Fin Soup by the Grimm Brothers of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It is a game that is to be put on the PlayStation 4, PS Vita, PS3, and PC. They call it a charming Super Nintendo-style RPG with roguelike elements, set in a twisted fairy tale world with cheerful yet raging alcoholic heroine.
Okay.
It's a Steam Greenlight game. It does appear to be one of those action RPG type items, kind of like Alundra or Zelda. It does appear to be a I guess the heroine kind of looks like Red Riding Hood with a bandolier and bullets.
It's an interesting description.
Well, it's
seen worse in a webcomic, actually.
Well, this project ends on April 11th. It has 12 days to go. 1,946 backers. The goal is $24,000. Currently sits at $58,673. At $15, if you back it for just $15, you get the game. You get Dragonfin Soup featuring epic tales of murder, madness, and dark secrets. In addition, we'll be including a sleek digital game manual and access to our forums to chat with the Grim team and discuss tips, tricks, strategies with other players to help you in your adventure. All previous rewards are included, which is the soundtrack and a wallpaper pack. That's pretty good for $15. At $50, you get the Ghost edition of the game. They'll add your name to the Ghost pool. Apparently, a lot of the enemies are randomly generated with different names, and your name will be put in.
That's cool.
You also get a cute spirit familiar for the game. It doesn't come with gameplay advantages, but it just looks funny.
It's a pet.
Yeah, and they've already unlocked a stretch goal that includes endless labyrinth mode, online leaderboards, and additional porting costs for PS3, PS4, and Vita. What the hell, right? Doesn't look. It looks kind of interesting. They've got several GIFs on their Kickstarter of gameplay. So I'm on the fence on this one. From there, we'll move into the regular news we have, and we will start with our usual video game news, or at least. First off, there's an interesting rumor that's come out that says that some new game called Assassin's Creed Comet is going to be a successor to Black Flag. So Assassin's Creed Comet is part of a new group of rumors regarding a pair of Assassin's Creed games coming, including the one we've been talking about, Unity. The difference, though, is that for Assassin's Creed Comet, you're not playing one of the assassins in the game. For once, you're playing one of the Templars. One of the As I talked to my wife about that, her first words were, "What? You don't play Templars? You kill Templars!" Wow. A little bloodlust there.
Well, wasn't one of the guys you were playing a descendant of one of the Templars?
I think that was in the third game.
In one of the games?
The half-Native American character, his father was a British man who turned out to be a Templar.
Right.
But also making a return in that is... actually, speaking of which, Edward's son, Haytham Kenway, is the father of the father of the Assassin's Creed 3 hero Connor. So literally, the character we were just talking about supposedly makes a cameo in this game. How's that for coincidence? I wasn't expecting that either. But there's more pictures that have been released regarding Assassin's Creed Unity, and it's definitely taking place in France. You can actually see Notre Dame rather prominently in one of these pictures. That includes this black-clad assassin looking over different neighborhoods, and you can see him in the foreground of the picture as well. It's kind of creepy because you see him looking down in front of Notre Dame where they got a guillotine set up, and there's a mob with several banners lining the place. It's a little wicked. In further video game news, there's an insider that claims that the PS1 and PS2 games will be coming to the PS4 in 1080p.
Is that good?
1080p is, yeah.
Yeah,
that's good. But...
Yeah, they're going to supposedly, anyway, they will upconvert PS1 and PS2 games to 1080p so they can be seen on in full-screen monitors, current monitors.
Ah, gotcha.
Let me see. Supposedly, the software regarding this is well on its way to release. There is a tipster named Hassan Rashid who apparently has some clout that says through a series of tweets, Sony is working to bring local support for PS1 and PS2 games to the PS4 with native 1080p rendering for select titles. I wonder what the selection is.
Probably the really famous, popular ones, I would assume.
Apparently, this Rashid also mentioned virtual reality demos at upcoming events, Blu-ray / media player updates, and Sony's willingness to adapt to game developer criticism and suggestions while building the Morpheus headset. Just have to see on that. I mean, it's all rumor at this point until it's proven otherwise. I don't know Rashid or his reputation myself, but always got to take these things with a level of skepticism until somebody comes out with it.
Indeed.
Because after all, Nintendo's latest project was supposed to revolutionize gaming, and all they did was stick a tablet on a Wii. There was an interesting video I saw a couple days ago. Call of Duty is getting another DLC pack. They call it Devastation. And in it, there's a player character running around what appears to be some kind of Mayan ruins and jungle. He's got his gun out, and he's looking for something. Then you hear this weird purring and clicking sound that sounds awfully reminiscent of something else.
Oh, crap.
Now tell me if this sounds familiar. You play a character who's a badass soldier. You have a large caliber weapon. You're running around the jungle when something makes an odd sound and invisibly comes out and kills you.
Do you have an Austrian accent?
I don't know, because unfortunately the video cut off when it attacked, so I don't know if he died going
So what is this a reference to?
The Predator.
Oh.
Apparently in the latest DLC pack, the Predator will come and find you.
Wonderful.
That sounds kind of fun, actually.
Does that mean in the middle of a multiplayer you're asking why one of the characters is getting naked and slathering himself with mud?
I've been more wondering, asking the question, where do my friends go?
You can almost hear the jokes across like different headsets and online networks. Jim, what are you doing? Jim, what are you doing, man? Get down! He's coming!
Oh man, the jokes will be endless.
Pretty much. Get to the chopper! The last bit of video game news I have is the producer of Batman Arkham Knight. He's revealed a bit more story in regards to the last of the Warner Brothers interactive Arkham games. The storyline is that since the Joker is dead, and he tended to use divide and conquer tactics when it came to not just the Batman, but the villains in Gotham. Because he's gone, the Scarecrow took the opportunity to actually unify these villains, and the idea is he put them together specifically to kill Batman.
I
don't know if you guys have played Arkham City. I think you
have. No, not yet.
Okay.
I played through some of it.
Okay, well, spoilers. At the end of the game, Joker is dead, and Harley Quinn is firmly convinced that the Batman did it. Long-term comic books fans know that's just not his speed. But because Harley Quinn spread this rumor that the Batman did it, everyone believes it, and the villains want to take out the Batman before he goes crazy and aces another one of them. In the midst of it all is apparently this new vigilante character called the Arkham Knight, and there's actually pictures of him for once. He almost looks like some kind of riot cop version of Batman, complete with automatic weaponry. He has this weird helmet that looks vaguely like Batman's cowl. So it looks like you're not only trying to stop the villains from destroying you, you're trying to stop this psychopath from destroying them. Which goes back to some of our earlier conversations of why do you care? But they did also confirm that you don't just use the Batmobile to ride around in it. In this game, you drive the damn thing.
Oh. Roadkill.
Yeah, you get to run down the streets, it jumps, it turbo boosts, I think you can grapple hook things, it does 180 turns in place.
Nice.
Yeah, there's going to be some dead cats in the road. There's also a small gallery that was released on Newsarama.com of some interesting stuff, including views of Commissioner Gordon, the Arkham Knight pinning Batman and holding a rifle to his head. Background shots of Gotham, another picture of the Batmobile. There's some interesting stuff in here. And these do look like very detailed characters. This looks like it's going to give my Xbox One a workout. The one thing I can say about these Warner Brother games is they've been very complete. I'm hard-pressed to think of a good villain that hasn't been in these games yet. I mean, I can name a whole bunch of shitty ones like Killer Moth and Crazy Quilt and Kite Man, but you don't really need those guys. There was actually a guy named Kite Man. There was some guy that was actually so fond of kites, he used it as his villain motif.
That's a thing? Really? Wow.
Yeah, look him up. He actually existed. Whether or not you should actually care, it's a whole nother matter.
Go fly a kite.
Oh, that hurt, man. That hurt deep inside. From there, we'll move into Marvel Media News, which is all the news that has to do with Marvel properties that isn't on a comic book page. First thing I have is that another trailer was released for X-Men Days of Futures Past. It actually included our first video views of the Sentinels, as well as some of the actions that are just going to drive people insane going throughout the movie. I sat down and watched it. It's pretty cool. You got to see characters like Sunspot in action. I think you saw Iceman complete on an ice slide. So the director and writers of the movie seem to have a better grip on, what was it? The visuality of mutant powers. So I just hope this isn't like The Last Stand, where all the cool stuff is in the trailer. Speaking of which, there was a crew that saw the first few minutes of Days of Futures Past, and they said that it was dark.
I'm good with dark.
Well, given the story it's being pulled from, I expect it to be dark.
Well, Days of Futures Past, yeah, it's a bad future where mutants are on their last legs, Sentinels rule everything. Humans are barely standing because Sentinels determined that mutations were coming from human genes. So the best way to stop mutations were to destroy the human gene.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's
AI logic right there.
Yeah. That is a direct point A to B type of item. But some of the stuff that they describe were like Colossus in his metal form getting his arm ripped off and his head stomped on by a Sentinel. Sunspot was raging, and apparently a Sentinel used some kind of internal cooling unit, goes cold and chokes him out. Iceman gets his head ripped off by a superheated Sentinel. Warpath is vaporized and Blink is impaled. So, yeah, that's some dark shit.
Oh, yeah.
And also they said at the end of the fight, Bishop and Kitty Pryde are about to get attacked, and then after a one-liner, they disappear, which the viewer believes they disappeared into the past because the whole room resets and is suddenly missing objects, damage, and the Sentinels themselves. A time-traveling Catherine Pryde and Bishop. Who knew? So,
yes, who indeed.
Well, in further Marvel Media news, there have been pictures released from the set of Age of Ultron, which is in the midst of filming. Some of those pictures include Elizabeth Olsen and
Jeremy Renner.
Aaron Taylor Johnson. The Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I have pictures of them in costume.
Picture I saw was, Jeremy Renner in the Hawkeye outfit, and there's a Scarlet Witch crashing down in the middle of this debris field.
Well, I only looked at one picture of them because I found at least 4 from the set. And if you guys looked at the documentary that came out on the 18th in the regarding Marvel Media, the characters of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch look a lot like the production art that was put out not too long ago. As a matter of fact, let me get the URL from the picture of Quicksilver, because the wig, I think the wig will probably be fixed in post because it looks a little loose on him. However, the shirt they put together is actually interesting. It's a good representation visually of Quicksilver. It doesn't involve that bizarre teal blue that you usually see in comic books. Actually,
blue?
It's a thermal.
Yeah. I don't think it's a thermal necessarily. I think that's too thin for a thermal. It looks more like a gym shirt, frankly.
Oh, so, yeah. That works.
It's nice multicolored. I don't know if they're going with the idea that he colors his hair or if this is something that's going to be fixed digitally later. I'm I'm not sure what I think about the Scraggle beard, though. You know, the message boards kind of lit up after these pictures came out of, you know, there were two versions of it. There's one that said, well, this looks much better in the Days of Futures Past version. And there was another group of people who says, man, nobody can make Quicksilver look cool.
I thought he was just a douchebag that runs fast, so...
He is a douchebag that runs fast. He usually admits he's a douchebag that runs fast.
Okay, so why are they trying to make him cool?
It's comic book fans. You know, they can't read anything as uncool.
Nerds.
Samuel Jackson actually had some interesting words regarding Age of Ultron. He said, I'm not doing so much. He actually says his appearance in Age of Ultron is pretty much a glorified cameo. Quote, I'm not doing so much, I don't think. It's another one of those people who have powers fighting people who have powers movies. There's not a lot I could do except shoot a gun, unquote.
Damn, what the hell is Black Widow and Hawkeye doing then?
Shooting a bow and arrow and a pistol? There's actually a couple more pictures that have come out recently. It's somebody who's on the set of Age of Ultron with this bizarre gear. I imagine he's supposed to be the visual representation of Ultron in the movie. You know, pre-CG. Because it is this weird rig. I've sent you guys a link so you can take a look. And it's a little creepy to look at. It definitely looks it looks like it's adding about another 6 to 8 inches of height on this poor guy who's wearing this thing.
Yeah. It looks like a midget. Like, his proportions are not right.
Oh, like I said, I think it's a visual representation. I think he's supposed to be walking around the set, and then they'll take him out and CG in the actual Ultron.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
there's no way that's sense. The actual...
Yeah, this is the thing that the actors are going to be talking to, so they're not just trying to pretend that they're all staring at the same general direction. Think of it as a step from the tennis balls that they use in the Lord of the Rings movies. You didn't know about that, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Several points when they had characters at different heights, instead of using base visual representations like this, they just kind of put tennis balls in a place so everyone's looking at the same point.
And now you respect the actors so much more.
Could have been worse. It's not like you said, look, pretend this dog is who you're supposed to be talking to.
It almost seems like they're actually trying to make Ultron very imposing and large.
Well, Ultron in the comic books is always represented as large. You know, Captain America has to look up at him, and Captain America is 6 feet tall.
Huh. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Actually,
Captain America is not short.
No. Actually, I've got another link to send to you guys because Yahoo Movies, they put together some nice pictures that compare the movie versions of the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver to their comic book counterparts. The Scarlet Witch has had several costume changes, but as far as a first look, this is actually very reasonable, I think. You recognize her, but it's not complicated. And there's something about that red and pink leotard she generally wears that doesn't work for me. And in the second picture, the Quicksilver comparison, you can see that teal blue I was talking about.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I mean, that may look interesting on a comic book page, but I would never want to see that on a movie screen.
Oh, hell no. I'm not sure I'd want to see it on a comic book.
Yeah, because if people think that Quicksilver looks like a douchebag now, you should see what it looked like wearing that.
I like the Scarlet Witch's comic book costume more.
That's one of her 90s costumes, though. Her base one is much plainer, but it is that red corset extended to a bathing suit type item. And then she's wearing a pink unitard underneath. It's a very strange outfit, generally.
I'll admit that the thing that she's wearing makes more sense. It's just the other one's more visually appealing.
Yeah, well, the other one is supposed to be based on her gypsy upbringing. But, I have faith that Joss Whedon will make this work.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Well, only, it's less than 6 days before Captain America, the Winter Soldier, makes it to movie theaters. You know what that means?
What?
No.
They've released more clips.
Oh.
Man, they are just not resting on their laurels. Newsarama has a new pair of clips to look at. We'll post links to that. I don't want to get into that right now because, I think we all still plan to see the movie. And for Christ's sakes, what's left? There's like 5 minutes of the movie that hasn't been seen on the internet, for crying out loud.
This
And
is
those
why
are
I
the
don't.
transition scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is why I don't watch clips by and large, because then I'm like, well, now I know the movie.
Well, I mean, the only things we haven't seen so far is like either Captain America getting on the motorcycle or just plain putting the shield on his arm. The rest of it feels like we've gone through.
No, we've seen him put it on his arm a couple times. Even one time straight from the floor.
Well, how about this? This is actual news regarding Captain America. Chris Evans says he's ready to be done with acting.
Oh, saw that article.
Wait,
Yeah.
really?
He's not kidding. He starts off joking that there's one thing the audience won't see Captain America do, and that's head to the bathroom. He says in the movie, quote, "Not to get too graphic, but you better hope you're on a nice schedule in that thing. There are these zippers and buttons," and he sheds the suit with the help of a wardrobe entourage. Says, "You could fight all day. You're not getting out of it," unquote. So apparently you'll never see Captain America just unzip in front of a urinal.
Man, that is actually something I would like to see more action movies take
What, you want to
seriously.
see Captain America go up to a urinal, unzip, and then suddenly the Hulk lumbers in next to him, pulls down his pants, Captain America looks over and goes, "Whoa, I'm out of here."
Actually, that would be hilarious. Are you kidding me?
But regarding his future plans, Evans says, quote, "I've known for a while I've wanted to direct, but time never really opens up. There's another movie to do. There's another acting job. It just got to a point where I was like, you know what? I have to do this," unquote. He also further said, quote, "If I'm acting at all, it's going to be under a Marvel contract, or I'm going to be directing. I can't see myself pursuing acting strictly outside of what I'm contractually obligated to do," unquote. So, reading through that, it sounds like once his 6-movie deal with Marvel is done, he's done.
You know what? That doesn't actually surprise me. There's something about the way he plays his character that the best I can say is he seems tired.
Yeah, I could see that, but I mean, he's supposed to be one of those men out of time type deals, and
Yeah, so that may be it. But
yeah, yeah, that may just be acting. But at the same time, you could say that if he's finishing up with Captain America, he's going to finish strong. Because as much as people had derided these movies when they first announced they were adding Captain America in a standalone film, honestly, the Cap movies, and he's one of my least favorite characters in the lineup, they've been some of the strongest movies in the Avengers. And the early reviews on The Winter Soldier are unbelievably high. I almost worry that the hype may kill the movie.
That's a possibility.
yeah, that happened with The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, we won't know until we get there. Further Marvel media news. You remember a couple weeks ago, or maybe last week, they released that picture of Dale DeHaan, the kid playing Harry Osborn in Amazing Spider-Man 2 in that goblin armor? Yeah, that weird sweatback hairstyle.
Yep.
They released a close-up. You want to see the close-up?
Might as well.
I'm pretty sure it's not pretty.
Oh my god. Let me put it this way. He could have played a Joker. I'm serious. I sent you guys a link. You can take a look.
Wow.
But between the makeup and this vicious look in this kid's eyes, who usually plays these mousy, kind of dour parts, he looks like a Joker.
He looks like a goblin.
Yeah. I mean, this actually is probably the best visual representation of a goblin we've had in movies.
Okay, call me weird, but doesn't that... What is that, a blob of mud on the left side of his face kind of look like a Borg implant? Or right side of his face?
Well, I'm wondering if this is how they're going to get away with his face being a goblin with a pair of with cybernetic implants on his head. Yeah, because the goblin has ears, he has a gigantic green mask, and he has a face, similar to what we're looking at. But in the comic books, yeah, it's always head to toe outfit and this kind of purple, I don't know, sock hat, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is an interesting compromise. It's much better than the one that was in the original Spider-Man film.
I'll be honest. I'm willing to believe that this whole goblin thing is a compilation of a lot of other things to include a power armor suit, as well as genetic alteration.
Well, yeah, but the goblin in comics is genetic alteration and a power suit. If you remember, Norman Osborn, he takes a goblin serum and enhances his strength and all that. Then he puts on an outfit that includes taser gloves, that bag full of pumpkin bombs, the air skiff. He is a power suit and genetic manipulation, just like this is implying.
I love how you just couched that in City of Heroes terms.
I did?
Sort of.
Okay.
Never mind. Don't listen to me.
I might have. I don't fucking... Now I'm
It's
trying
just
to
the
think
way you
about...
stated the power set. It was just kind of like...
Okay, I was just sitting there going... I'm trying to go backwards in my head just saying, what did I fucking say?
Well, you said it was genetic manipulation and power suit. It was just... I was picturing in my head, okay, so now he has these 10 powers.
Okay. Okay. All right,
He's
thank
a
you.
science origin character.
Thank you for explaining that. At least
Exactly.
now I know I'm not just stupid. That's cool. The last bit of Marvel media news I have was kind of a shocker to me. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is getting a lot of cameos by different high-name actors lately, and the series does seem to be picking up finally, at least as far as general people are involved. You know, the fan base seems to be rather apathetic to the show because they're still disappointed that superheroes don't show up more often.
Which bullshit. I was excited for the show as advertised.
Yeah, well, we all read the pressers and knew that there weren't going to be superheroes in the show generally.
Yeah.
But did you know that we're going to meet the cellist finally?
Who?
Oh, that's cool. That is the girlfriend of...
Yeah.
Yeah, ever since the Avengers, Phil Coulson occasionally mentions a cellist girlfriend, one he left behind after he was resurrected. She's coming to the show. And not only is she coming to the show, Joss Whedon knows this one rather well. The cellist is being played by Amy Acker.
Awesome!
I can hear Jesse just going...
more exuberant than I meant, but...
Amy Acker played Fred in the Angel TV series.
Oh. That explains why you don't know.
She played a character that showed up in, the third season of the show? Fourth season?
She showed up in the end of the second season. She was also the doctor from Dollhouse. And she's been in a couple other places.
Yeah, Dollhouse, I admit, I've not watched an episode of that.
I've only seen the first season.
Well, I've just never had a problem with her work, though. She does very good character work. And now
she's
Clark Gregg get
wonderful.
Yeah. As long as she doesn't turn Smurf blue in this one, I'll be okay. DC media news was rather light, and it all has to do with the Gotham TV series. And unfortunately, it's all visuals. There's pictures that have been released of the characters of Alfred Pennyworth by Sean Pertwee. Let me see. Young James Gordon as played by Ben McKenzie. Although the last one is the most interesting because we got a look at Robin Lord Taylor as Oswald Cobblepot. It's literally all pictures. Do you want to see any of these?
That's an interesting name. Cobblepot?
Yeah, Oswald Cobblepot is the regular
Penguin
of the Penguin.
Oh, okay. I'm not real familiar with those.
Okay. Well, I won't show you the other two because I can tell you're not interested, but I sent you guys a link so you can take a look at the Penguin. It's actually pretty good visually. I especially like the pale blue eyes with the that long nose that he has.
Yeah, that shit-eating grin just kind of makes you think...
A-hole.
Yeah. I'd have to see him in profile to see if they added that honking huge nose that he usually has. But
well, judging by all the pictures we've seen, I think they're going to go much more subtle on that.
Yeah. Almost. Where they actually use the prosthetic for that?
This is like the poor man's Tobey Maguire.
Well, Robin Lord Taylor has apparently been in The Walking Dead, Another Earth, and Accepted. And
not at any point that I have seen those things.
You haven't seen The Walking Dead?
Well, no, I'm stuck in second season.
Aha. Well, he's being described as having the brains of a grand chess master, the morals of a jackal, and he's a low-level psychopath gangster for Fish Mooney. Fish Mooney.
I can't.
Fish Mooney. Fish Mooney. I just
Fish
can't...
Mooney actually sounded better.
I can't say that name and have it sound threatening is my problem. You know, Fish Mooney. It sounds like a Native American name. Go meet fish under moon.
Maybe if you say it with that kind of... Yeah, I don't know how that would work.
I could just imagine a bunch of people tuning in. Okay, so this is how Batman is going to start. This is great. The fuck is a Fish Mooney? In general,
given the whole set for Gotham, I half expect to see the Court of Owls in it.
There's a decent chance of that, I imagine. Considering this is supposed to be
that's a strong possibility.
In general media news, where we talk about some comic book related items that don't fit into the other of the big companies, Scarlett Johansson has another superpowered movie coming. It's called Lucy. You guys familiar?
I don't think so.
At CinemaCon recently, Universal showed the first few minutes of the movie, where it centers around Johansson, who's a woman who's forced to become a drug mule. And what happens is the people that hire her open her up and sew a bag of drugs inside her for her to take across. Problem is the bag is punctured somehow, starts leaking drugs into her system. So she gets she gets a little high, and then she starts developing very high degrees of strength, stamina, extra human style speed, and she's pretty good with a gun.
Human speed.
Yeah, so she's trying to find someone to take this shit out of her.
No shit. I mean, that would be... Well, you know what? I could see that going either way, actually.
Well, apparently, towards the end of the scene, you get a Morgan Freeman voiceover that says, "It is estimated that most human beings only use 10% of their brain capacity. Imagine if we could use all of it. Things would get interesting."
I thought that was a misconception, though, that we only use 10%.
It probably is. I think we use closer to 12.
No, they would use closer to like 80. Most of this, auto functions, like breathing.
Oh, then we're using it wrong. The producer and director of The Walking Dead, Greg Nicotero, he talked a little bit about what's going on towards the end of the season. Andrew Lincoln himself said that they may have gone a little too far in the season finale for the fourth season of The Walking Dead. Well, not that they may have gone too far. He at least asked if they're going too far. And something I didn't realize is in the penultimate episode, I think it was called Terminus, they arrive at a new location, and the place they walk into, they're greeted by only one character that I didn't recognize as I was watching it. They were greeted by Denise Crosby. Anybody? I know you two have seen her. Probably just don't.
I know who Denise Crosby is.
Steve, Jesse?
Nope.
You ever watched Star Trek The Next Generation?
Oh, Tasha Yar, right?
Yep. Told you you've seen her.
The name sounded familiar, but I just couldn't place.
I really liked her.
Once you said Star Trek, I was like, oh, yeah, that's right.
That was before I started keeping track of actor names as opposed to character names.
I've always... I just remember things like that for some reason. I just read the title screen because I'm watching it, and it just gets seared into my mind.
I saw her spread in Playboy, so I remember who she is.
I'm going to have to look this up now.
Well, there was a trailer released for a movie that I'm on the fence about seeing because I'm a fan of the actor. I'm not a fan of the story material. Dwayne Johnson as Hercules.
Okay. I'll buy that.
He has a movie coming.
I can see that physically.
He has a movie coming out later this year where he is playing the title character, as you can imagine. There's actually an interesting picture, and I will let you guys see it in view for yourself because, we've had a lot of stuff based on Hercules come out since I was a lad, and I don't know if it's oversaturation or if I'm just not interested. Although he does look kind of fierce with the long hair and the beard and the lion's head on his forehead.
The lion's head is new. I like that touch.
Yeah, he's already killed the Nemean lion.
So he Go ahead.
I like Hercules in that it spawned Xena.
I find it kind of interesting. It looks like he's wielding, one of those Japanese depicted Oni clubs.
I thought that was supposed to be a sword.
It looks more like a sword to me.
Okay. Looked like it could be a club to me.
It might be a thick-ass sword, but yeah.
All I was going to say was he definitely looks more like the classic version of Hercules in that douchebag who was in the movie in early 2014. You remember him, the guy with the short hair who was apparently winging cinder blocks chained to his arms like they were chain and mace?
What movie was that?
It was another
I haven't seen it.
Came out.
Haven't seen it.
The lead actor in it was kind of a douchebag because before his movie came out, he actually sent out a tweet that said, "Go see go see this year's Hercules movies that had an actor that wasn't on steroids."
Was Kevin Sorbo in?
No, he's accusing Dwayne Johnson of being on steroids.
Oh, okay, right. Gotcha.
Yeah, it was. If he looked like this while he was wrestling, I'd say he was probably on steroids. But the fact is, now he's not wrestling; he's just acting. He has more time on his hands, and he's not throwing people around, 250 nights of the year.
Yeah.
Leaves you more time for the gym when you're bored. And have you guys seen the trailer to the Ninja Turtles movie that was released?
Yeah.
No.
Well, teaser trailer
I
anyway.
think so.
Do you want to see it? It's a minute and a half long.
I don't want to see it.
Oh, V wants to see. I can't believe they actually added that it was a Nickelodeon movie.
Well, Nickelodeon owns the franchise right now.
I thought it was still owned by another company.
Nope, they're still airing that show on Nickelodeon. It's going for another third season now.
The TV show doesn't mean they necessarily had rights to everything. I mean, look at the Marvel stuff. Movies are in 3 places. TV shows are in another 2.
True, but I'm pretty sure whoever on the prior probably sold the entire package. So,
not necessarily. You can bet they probably don't know that piece crap. I can see that. I can see that Bay in this version went very realistic, and that may have been a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems almost like it's trying to parody a serious movie being bad, but it's actually just being bad.
Yeah, it's not working for me. Oh well. At least the origin, they've confirmed that they're not aliens. They are actual mutants this time.
Well, no, I think the producers squashed that, almost immediately.
Oh no, Bay actually was doing aliens. It took like
I know,
and
someone squashed it immediately.
No, it wasn't.
Someone squashed it immediately.
No, it took like 2 months for that to turn around. Bay actually had to be forced not to do it. Fan outcry came to such a point that he actually backed off that and refused to do it.
I'm still not going to watch this movie.
Me neither, but I probably wasn't going to anyway.
It did not earn my $10.
Well, the story to this is that the Shredder is somehow involved in the creation of the Turtles with another character. And apparently the Shredder in this one is supposed to be one of those, I guess you could say, vicious heroes in that he's trying to save the city by crushing it underfoot. I don't know if that's a pun or not. But in further media news, Disney has bought something else. They bought Maker Studios for $500 million.
Yep.
Maker's the parent company of Polaris. It has they do a lot of mobile games, and they also have a YouTube channel that includes Total Biscuits, Game Grumps, and PewDie Pies.
What the hell?
Disney owns them now.
That?
Yep, Disney owns them.
They're all YouTube shows.
They do a lot of review analysts and playthroughs.
Yeah, although Game Grumps to me I've never understood as a fad. They always kind of bore me. But yeah, Disney now owns a YouTube channel that has some serious clout to it. It looks like they're trying to It looks like they're trying to match up with Warner Brothers, who is now investing heavily in Machinima, which is now what Mission Star Podcast is partnered with. We're going with Machinima's YouTube channel.
Huh. Really?
Yeah. You know, we have meetings where we discuss stuff. Let me see. There's actually some new Godzilla footage that was shown to different media outlets. And apparently part of it has to do with Bryan Cranston and why he seems so pissed off during the trailers. He works with his wife in a nuclear power plant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, some kind of earthquake-style disaster happens that causes the plant to melt down.
Ooh.
Cranston flips out and runs through the door locks, trapping people inside of the plant, and his wife is still inside at the time. He's standing at the door screaming when a cloud of pink smoke rolls down the hall. And then he has to close the door.
Wow.
Insert divorce joke here.
Yeah. He's also seen talking with Aaron Taylor Johnson, who's in this movie as well, playing Ford Brody. And he tells him that he did all he could to help save her, and Cranston is talking about their mother. So it's unknown whether Taylor Johnson's playing his son or the son of another character. And get this, Elizabeth Olsen is in this movie too. She plays Elle Brody.
Okay.
So Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are in the movie. They could have saved her. There's also a first clip shown to the media about the dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and apparently it gave them chills. You know, it looks like a lot of the summer blockbusters are really just coming out guns a-blazing. Some of it has to do with humankind's first, I guess you could say, battles with the apes as a whole.
So we're going to see, like, large-scale battles? What is that?
Well,
what does a monkey-person conflict even look like?
Well, there's one...
Lots of jumping around?
There's one scene they describe here as a couple of men wincing, ready for apes to come down at them and fight, but the ape just laughs and smiles at them. The apes laugh, and suddenly the ape is on his feet and has a gun. Still laughing, he's holding the gun oddly, as you would expect an ape to hold something, you know, much smaller than his hands. The men yell, "Whoa," and the ape shoots one of them, and the ape is still smiling. He points the automatic weapon at the surviving man and shoots. The ape never loses his smile.
So it's
that's
the
not
Joker
creepy
ape.
at all.
It's a sadist. Maybe this is the Dorian Gray of apes. There was a new trailer that was released for a movie called Jupiter Ascending. Do you guys know what this is about?
No.
I've heard the name, but I can't remember.
If I recall, it's like some older film or story from way back when.
I have meant to sit down and watch this because it has been talked about for the last week and a half, almost solid on different outlets. And apparently the trailer includes a lost mystical princess or queen destined to save her people, epic space battles on land and in air, some sort of mech or robot, a pointy-eared hero warrior, a dragon, overly elaborate costumes, establishing shots of planets and vessels to show scope, cybernetic implants and advanced tech for movement and sensory input, some kind of CGI goblin creature, screaming, posturing villain who of course stole power and wants the mystical princess dead, and Sean Bean. As they put it, this trailer has every sci-fi trope imaginable, including Sean Bean. But this new movie is by the Wachowskis, the guys who created The Matrix. Remember, they're not the Wachowski brothers anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I need to watch this trailer. You see, did you know that there was a bet regarding Star Wars between Spielberg and Lucas?
No,
Really?
but that wouldn't surprise me.
Well, they made a bet, and it was back in 1977. And the bet cost George Lucas $40 million so far.
So far?
So far. Now,
That's a big bet.
Yeah, this almost ended up in the What the Fuck news, because the bet was made when Lucas was visiting Spielberg on the set of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which was before Star Wars came out. Now, the two of them argued over which movie would do better. But the thing is, they were arguing over each other's movies. Lucas said that Close Encounters would do better. Spielberg said that Star Wars would do better. Okay. Lucas said Close Encounters would make more money. So, here's the bet. Each of them would give the other 2.5% of their respective stakes in their own film. If it was the more successful, or I should say if it was the most successful. So, whichever one made the most money now owes 2.5 stake in that movie to their to the other guy in the bet. Now, Close Encounters in 1977 made serious money, made $303 million, which is an amount that movies today would beg to get to, frankly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars made $775 million worldwide just in 1977. So, Spielberg has continued to get money from theatrical re-releases, home video sales, and more from 2.5% of Star Wars. He's made so far $40 million off of a movie he didn't make. That's the bet.
Wow.
So that means even though Lucas sold his rights to Star Wars for $4 billion, so he's not hurting for money, that means Spielberg still has 2.5% of this Star Wars money coming in. He ain't hurting. And the last bit of general media news I have, there was an actress on Game of Thrones. She plays Sansa Stark.
Sophie Turner.
Thank you. Well, she made an interesting comment, and this also nearly made it into the WTF news, but it's not quite there, because she said that there is a real life Joffrey out there that Americans are dealing with. She calls him Joffrey Bieber. She does think that Justin Bieber is acting like an over-entitled little shit. That's not a quote necessarily, but that's the point.
I think you agree with her opinion, though.
Oh, I definitely do. She says, quote, I was only 13. I was one of those girls that read OK Magazine 12 times a week. And I was all, ooh, Justin Bieber, who is the Joffrey Baratheon of our time.
Yeah, I've actually thought about that before, but...
Yeah. The worst part is, I bet Joffrey has better tattoos.
He has tattoos? That's just...
Bieber, not only does he have tattoos, some of them may be self-inflicted. He actually is one of those douchebags that has the Catholic-style cross above his... Well, I can't say pecs. Yeah. I guess you could say boy, frankly. From there, we'll move into Marvel media news, Marvel comic news, I should say. If you remember at the end of Marvel comic news last week, I was asking you guys about the Shadows teaser for Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All those characters silhouetted by webs.
Uh-huh.
Wonder no more, because the actual version of that came out this week. And it was like we thought. It is all of the Spider-Man versions through time. And multiversity, frankly. I sent you guys a link. If you take a look at the picture, this is freaking substantial. And the worst part is I recognize probably 90% of these.
Yeah, I recognize one.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh god, they got the Spider Ham in there?
Yeah.
And his Fantastic Four outfit. Holy crap.
They have the 2099, the Spider-Man Noir, the Unipower Spider-Man. They even have the Steel Spider, Ollie Osnick.
Wow. They even got the Ultimate Spider-Man, the second one.
Yep.
Forget his name.
They have the 2 Scarlet Spiders.
The Iron Spider.
Yeah, I do see Miles Morales. I see the Ultimate Spider-Woman. I see the regular Spider-Woman.
Mm-hmm.
I see I even see the Demon Spider.
Spider-Girl.
The Armored Spider. The Iron Spider. Superior Spider-Man. I even see the version where his costume was ruined and he borrowed a Fantastic Four outfit and put a paper bag on his head.
Yep.
There's even the Mangaverse Spider back there. I don't see the India Spider-Man, though. Oh well. We'll link that so you can stare at it and see how many you can name. Speaking of spiders, it's been confirmed that Peter David is writing a new Spider-Man 2099 series. Except this one isn't happening in the far-flung future. This is about the character that's actually stuck in current times. And the storyline is he's there when the evil company that his father founded comes to be. So he's trying to guide his grandfather to basically make his family line a little nicer. He's trying he's trying to manipulate time quietly from the back, but that also means he has to protect someone that's an utter douchebag, or he has to unmake himself.
Either of which are...
Yeah, not exactly palatable. I just hope they update the costume a little bit, because while in the 90s that weird spider skull image on his chest is interesting, when it comes to modern design, it's a little much, and you guys can take a look and make your own decisions. But I think the costume can do with a little bit of an update.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I know they were going for this thing that's supposed to be a cross between a spider and a skull on his chest. It's just it doesn't work anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the last bit of Marvel Media news I have is that they released a teaser for a comic book prelude to the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's supposed to be the story of how Nebula became what she is. The character being played by Karen Gillan from Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually see how she lost her arm and needed a bunch of cybernetic implants, as well as a couple of missions she pulls off for Thanos. Actually, I took a look at the first few pages. It's pretty damn good. I actually want to read the comic now. And my wife will not let me skip this movie because she's a Doctor Who fan of a different order, and she wants to see anything involving those actors. She's actually excited when the Fright Night...
I know the type.
Yeah, she was excited when the Fright Night remake involved David Tennant. She said, now I have to watch this movie. It's like, fuck, why?
Well, actually, David Tennant, yeah. Oh, I could see that.
Well, in DC Comic news, it started off a bit confusing, because back on the 24th, it was announced that Nightwing 30, the end of the Nightwing series in the New 52, as well as the end of Forever Evil, issue 7, they were pushed back from April to May.
Yeah, I saw that.
And the worst part is this also moved the release dates of several issues that were supposed to tie up Forever Evil, including Justice League 30, Justice League of America 14, and Suicide Squad 30. They've all been pushed back to May.
What the hell are they going to do in the meantime?
I don't know. All these things have been delayed, and that means that this month I don't think there's any Forever Evil stuff coming out. And this event has gone on way too long, in my opinion. It's frustrating when you have a major event that's supposed to shake up the entirety of your universe, but most of your series don't even acknowledge it's happening. If you read Aquaman, Superman, Batman, most of those are self-contained stories. You wouldn't know Forever Evil is even a thing if you read those.
Yeah.
It's just fucking frustrating to me now that you have to wait even further for this to finish, and that means that somewhere in May to June is that 5-year jump that's coming. Fuck me.
No.
I already have kids. Fuck you. And they've also said that the writers on the Flash series have said that Wally West changes are not for the sake of surprise. Robert Venditti and Van Jensen are the new writers on the Flash. They said, quote, "It's all being done to develop the character organically within the story and to stay true to what those two characters, Barry and Wally, would do and how they would develop in circumstances in which they're going to meet and become friends." Unquote. Am I missing anything, or does that not say anything?
Yeah, it's
A little vague.
Doublespeak.
A little.
Yeah.
You know, but we've discussed how the New 52 has all these opportunities to change characters, and all they've really done is change their origin stories and barely really change the characters. At least the major ones. The minor ones seem to be turned upside down, and people are just pissed. I'm going to back up and get something else done here. There was one piece of Marvel Media news I didn't get a chance to read because it was in the wrong place. Joss Whedon had to apologize to South Koreans.
Yeah, I was wondering why he didn't mention that one.
Fortunately, he didn't have to apologize for the matter of sensitivity. He had to apologize because he understands that they're not used to the disruption a movie shoot can cause in a major city. And he also had to apologize because he admitted they're going to make a pretty big fucking mess when they film this movie. They were filming sections of Age of Ultron in it.
Ah.
They were in Seoul, South Korea. He said, quote, "We love this movie. We love your city. And having the two of them together will show the city to the world in a light that I don't think it's been shown. Certainly not in America. We're going to mess it up and inconvenience some people for a few days, and I apologize for that. I know what that's like. I live in Los Angeles, and it happens to me all the time, and it's not fun," unquote.
Wish I could remember Seoul, Korea, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I think you were still messing your pants. So that was, what, a few weeks ago?
Asshole.
Back into what we were talking about. Speaking of delays, the Teen Titans series, speaking of characters that are swapped around for little to no reason, the Teen Titans series in DC is coming to an end soon. I don't know if that's for sales or for story or for what, but it's just ending. And what is it? What they're replacing it with is Teen Titans Earth 1. So they're going to the multiverse, and they're just putting together a different group of Teen Titans, which includes a cyborg that has a throwback style to the one that was featured in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Beast Boy is now called Changeling again. You have a Starfire that probably it has this head-to-toe rap-style unitard thing that's probably the most clothes a character has ever worn, frankly. You have a Jericho on the team, which is one of the most hated characters in the history of the Teen Titans. You have a Terra on the team. Hopefully this one won't sleep with Deathstroke. And you have a Raven that's a Native American.
Mm.
You know, you guys can take a look at the picture because most of this seems like pandering because they've added a lot of characters that were known from the cartoon rather than the actual comic series. I think they're trying to get more readers. But at the same time, the addition of Jericho just confuses me. I think the writers have a soft spot for him. The only thing out of all of this that's interesting is the fact that they seem to have finally come up with an origin for Raven that's more terrestrial and manageable, I guess is the right word. Because you gotta admit, Raven, the demon demigod, is kind of hard to write for.
Yeah.
So I actually like the profile of this Raven, too. Have you seen the one they came up with in the New 52?
Yes.
It doesn't look like a costume. It actually looks like a bad cosplay or something that came out of a furry convention. It does. I mean, if you look at the Raven in this Earth 1, it's kind of interesting, you know, alluring, a little bit ethereal. Now take a look at the one I just sent you. That's the Raven of the New 52. It is freaking bizarre looking. She looks like Actually, she looks like an anime villain. I don't know how those feathers are supposed to be a mask. Actually, you're a demigod. Why would you need a mask?
Style?
Well, do you think that has style with the white feathers in the face?
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah. Well, there's a writer named Will Pfeiffer who's going to Red Hood and the Outlaws, and he's trying to make the series, quote, fun. He says, quote, "I hate to keep harping on fight scenes, but done the right way, and fight scenes can be a lot of fun, and they can reveal character and propel the story forward," unquote. Sounds like he's trying to write a comic book in the way Michael Bay writes movies. I mean, I agree. The three characters together, this should be a lot of fun, but the series itself is not much fun.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I've tried on several occasions. I tried the first issue. I came back a few months later and read another issue. Came back a year later, read another issue. This book is very consistently not just dull, but it's hard to jump into. The characters are all over the place. Something I didn't realize until this year, Batman's coming on his 75th anniversary. And just like the Superman had last year, Batman is turning 75. He looks pretty good for 75. But they're releasing a special logo, and you guys can see it. It's not much more than the Bat logo extended on 1.5 and a 75 in the silhouette. It is kind of remarkable that a character's been around that long. I think in about 10 years, Captain America will reach his own 75th.
Yeah.
So, kudos to them. This means we're going to have a year of bad stuff.
Yeah.
I thought we've already been dealing with that.
How
many titles have Batman in it?
I don't know. How many comics does DC make? 52. So roughly 50.
And the other two are between Wonder Woman and Superman.
Wonder Woman and Superman's left testicle. And the last bit of DC comic news I have is we've finally seen this new character that's going to be on the Justice League International that was based on the Kree activist. The character name is Equinox, and she's supposed to have seasonal powers. It wasn't explained very well. She's going to be a 16-year-old character, so apparently as the seasons change, her powers and their effects are going to change as well. It's an interesting idea, and the design of the character is okay. And I say okay because the base suit is fine. What I want to know is those things on her back. Are those wings? Are those some kind of funky cape I'm not quite understanding? Or is there something else here I don't get?
That looks like a weirdly drawn cape to me.
Yeah, I guess in a couple subsequent pictures down the story, it gets a little clearer as to what it is. Maybe it's just the way they have the character walking. I enjoy the particular artist. It looks like Judd Winnick, but at the same time, it's a very strange picture. The first one, anyway.
Well, you say her powers are based off the season, so that also mean her powers will change if she's in a different part of the world, say like on the other side of the equator.
I do not know because this is an actual original character for once.
I really hope they actually take that into account.
We won't know until the writing comes out, and who knows.
I hope they're smart enough to realize that.
Don't hold your breath, it might hurt.
We'll know in 5 minutes.
Let's see. From there, we'll move into general comic book news, and there wasn't a heck of a lot, but it did get a little interesting. There's actually a trailer released for an independent comic book. I don't know if Steve and Jesse remember a 90s series from Valiant called Rye.
Nope.
Well, he had a comic book a while ago, and they've updated the character and his concept. In the comic, it's 4001 AD, and led by an artificial intelligence called the Father, the island nation of Japan is expended into the Pacific and into geosynchronous orbit with the Earth below. With billions of feet in protect, it's fallen to one solitary guardian to enforce the law of Father's empire, and that's the folk hero Rai. He's supposed to be able to appear out of nowhere. They say he might be a spirit or the ghost of Japan itself. When the first murder in 1,000 years threatens to topple the benevolent reign of this AI, Rai is being forced to confront the true face of a nation transformed and his own lost humanity. It's an interesting idea, at the very least. I kind of actually like the opening images because it evokes both comic books and anime-style imagery. Although the costume, I think, is another one that's very well based on something in the 90s and can use a little bit more of an update. You can take a look yourselves. I mean, the face and the cowl are okay. It's that rising sun on the chest I don't quite understand. Some people would call that, shoot here.
Ritualistic. Well, yeah, that's true.
That ain't different from Captain Britain wearing the Union Jack on his chest.
Darker colors, at the very least.
There's still a fucking bullseye there.
Yeah, well, besides which, he's supposed to be the invulnerable one. He's a tank. I don't quite know what Rai is, but I don't think he's that. Brian Hitch is putting together a new series. He's the one that did the art for the Ultimate version of the Avengers a long time ago. And he has an interesting concept for what's called real heroes. What that is you have a cross of the classic superhero archetypes with pop culture. Think of it as what if the cast of the Avengers was really asked to protect the world as their movie characters. So these are interesting. Yeah, these are 6 very normal, fallible people, ill-equipped to be superheroes who are asked to save the world. I mean, given given that these people are given gear like superheroes, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily, instant heroes. But that's the concept you have. That's the kind of stuff we could use a bit more of in comics, but those characters would not fit very well into DC or Marvel with all the actual heroes. They turn into Four-Bush Man pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to San Diego, they've announced some big panels that's going to be of interest to a couple people. Terry Crews is going to be at San Diego Comic-Con, probably in Hall H, to be there for a panel regarding The Expendables 3.
I will definitely watch it.
There's also a panel for Maze Runner, which is a new sci-fi movie based on the James Dasher young adult series. So it looks like this is the period where we're going to start hearing news about who's coming.
Yep.
And the last bit of general comic news I have is that a web series called Only Living Boy is going online for free. It's being done by Steve Ellis and David Gallagher. It's actually a critically acclaimed series. It debuted as a serialized webcomic earlier this week. The story is about a 12-year-old runaway who finds himself with amnesia in a patchwork world that has insect warriors, mermaid fighters, mad scientists, and assorted monsters. It's a story about finding oneself in adolescence, basically. Although it sounds like his circumstances are a bit different than your average. Japan and anime news? Most of it is actually pretty normal for once. There's 3 series that have been announced to get... they're getting sequel series. Remember last week we mentioned that Durarara is getting a second season?
Mm-hmm.
It looks like some writers have finally figured out that if you want to get a little more money out of successful series, you need to continue them a bit, instead of throwing out crappy new ones. Kill la Kill was like the only anime last season I was interested in following at all, and technically it was from the season prior. You can only take so much cheesecake. But...
Never have too much cheesecake.
Well, I'm sure fat people could argue that. But they've actually announced sequels to Psycho Pass, free. We've already known that Sword Art Online and Durarara are getting sequels themselves. But it was also announced last week after a recent airing of Macross Frontier in Japan that there's a brand new Macross series coming.
Got me.
So actually, Psycho Pass was rather cool. Some people called it Criminal Minds anime. It is basically about a bunch of detectives trying to, in what I guess you could say, in near future cyber world, trying to find unusual criminals. But the concepts were all interesting. Free is not quite my speed, but there's a lot of people out there who enjoy it, so power to them. The Macross thing has my curiosity. They said it's not going to be a continuation or sequel to any existing Macross franchise. It's a new series.
That's fine.
And the last bit of anime in Japan news I have is that anime has apparently become the medium in the country for anti-smoking campaigns.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're using anime to talk about how uncool smoking is. The Okayama Prefecture has a goal of the complete elimination of underage smoking. But the rates for underage smoking are only 3.3% for high school boys and 1.2% for middle schoolers. I guess actually
not very high.
No, but I guess anime is a decent medium to reach those groups of people.
I don't know. I find our anti-smoking commercials are very compelling. But I don't smoke, so.
Yeah.
Neither do I. I'm always interested in the science behind what happens here, and I don't know. I guess it's just one of those cultural differences. We don't have a whole lot of anti-smoking cartoons that aren't tongue-in-cheek.
Well, generally, we don't have smoking in cartoons, period.
Oh, yeah, we do. If you watch those throwback Looney Tunes, you can see Yosemite Sam lighting it up like crazy.
Oh, yeah, throwback, but in modern cartoons?
Oh, no. Well, I suppose that's true.
They still play those cartoons, though. I find them daily. Let's see. In general nerd news, where we talk about nerd interests and scientific breakthroughs, last week we talked about how they found those gravitational waves that may prove the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Apparently, as part of the side effect of that finding, It's actually forwarding the multiverse theory.
Yep, I read about that. That was exciting.
According to physicist Sean Carroll, quote, soon after Guth proposed inflation, the physicists Alexander Vilenkin and Andre Lind pointed out the process of inflation can go on forever. Instead of the inflation energy converting into ordinary particles all throughout the universe, it can convert in some places but not others, creating localized Big Bangs. Everywhere inflation continues, eventually producing other separate universes, eventually an infinite number. From an attempt to explain conditions in the single universe that we see, cosmologists end up predicting a multiverse. This may sound like a very peculiar result, but in the news conference after last week's announcement, both Guth and Lind suggested that evidence for inflation boosts the case for the multiverse, unquote. Well, now this means the new Avengers will be busier than ever. Multiverse theory is kind of an interesting item. I don't know, though. I can't exactly see them punching the doors between dimensions.
I
Now
think
you
it's
have a
going to be
big-ass drill?
very much in theory for quite some time.
I mean, the only way this would be possible would be if they strapped something they strapped a chair to the particle accelerator out in CERN. Imagine that e-ticket ride. I'm sure you guys have already heard, but also part of general nerd interest news, Facebook has bought itself a VR helmet.
Yep.
I did not hear.
Facebook has bought out Oculus VR for $2 billion.
Oh,
They now own the Oculus Rift.
okay.
The sale includes $400 million in straight cash and $1.6 billion in Facebook stock, and an additional $300 million in incentives. Facebook's founder Mark Zuckerberg said, quote, immersive gaming will be the first, and Oculus already has big plans here that won't be changing, and we hope to accelerate. The Rift is highly anticipated by the gaming community, and there's a lot of interest from developers in building this platform. We're going to focus on helping Oculus build out their product and develop partnerships to support more games. Oculus will continue operating independently within Facebook to achieve this, unquote.
Oh.
So
Okay.
It sounds like they plan on taking the Disney route like with Marvel. We own you, but we're going to leave you the fuck alone. Here's some money.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yes.
Well, we'll see if they follow through on that, because my first reaction when I read that headline was like, oh boy, now I get to see Facebook memes in 3D! Wait.
I had a similar thought.
So, hopefully they leave it alone and just leave it as a gaming engine, because if they start merging Facebook and this thing, I'm bored already.
Yeah.
Did you guys see this floating generator?
What?
No?
A floating generator.
No, that doesn't sound familiar.
Okay, Alteros Energies are the makers of a buoyant airborne turbine, or BAT. It's designed for off-the-grid situations like factories in the middle of nowhere, remote towns, and cities that have been hit by disasters. They can be upgraded to provide communications like the internet. They hover 1,000 to 2,000 feet above the ground and take advantage of high winds that typical turbines can't reach.
Huh.
They're mobile turbines.
Nice.
That's actually kind of cool.
Apparently, there's one here that may eventually have enough power to work for a city.
Nice.
That's kind of awesome.
It's an interesting idea, but you can imagine that there would be a bunch of armed guards outside this thing to keep terrorists from getting to it. How would someone really fuck with a city? Cut it loose! Cut it loose!
Remote control aircraft?
Something. It's a nice low-cost idea. It's apparently an inflatable turbine that you can float up to high altitudes and then take advantage of the wind there to generate power.
Nice.
It's a cool, low-cost idea, at least.
And that's one hell out of the box thinking right there.
Yeah. The last general nerd interest story I have here is by Annalee Newitz on IO9. Somebody put together an artist rendition of a recent supernova that happened at the star SN1987A. It had a triple halo effect. You can actually see rings of matter blown out in two directions according to this artist rendition.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's not just art for the sake of art, though. It was based on observations from the post that was watching the supernova at the Southern Observatory's Very Large Telescope. The European Southern Observatory's Very Large Telescope.
Kind of makes me wonder why he went there and not Hawaii.
Oh, those Europeans, they got nothing better to do than stare at stars. We have nothing better to do than play Candy Crush. Which reminds me, did you guys hear that King Digital actually went on the stock exchange last week?
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
No.
They had an IPO. The first time they offered their stock, they lost $2 billion on the first day. The stock didn't go up. It went down. It actually went down so far that the guy in charge of King Digital went from billionaire to millionaire.
Wow.
That's unfortunate.
I almost consider that par for the course sometimes. Not everything can win. Okay, the last bit of news we have here is our What the Fuck section of the news, where we plumb the internet to find those bits of news that actually make you ask, what the fuck happened here? One of the ones that actually I didn't expect to talk about was that Animal Planet... What?
Mm-hmm.
Animal Planet may be full of crap.
Wait, what?
Well, I knew that Animal Planet had some shows that, there are too many cameras around for it to be an unsafe environment. Shows like Call of the Wild Men and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, they're distorting reality in more ways than I know. There's somebody who claims to have been working on Animal Planet that was there when they trapped certain animals before shows and then released them for convenience for episodes of these shows.
Huh.
This whole thing was done by an investigation by a company called Mother Jones. It was a 7th-month investigation regarding Call of the Wildman. Now, this show features somebody called Ernie Brown Jr., who calls himself the Turtleman, who captures, quote, nuisance animals, critters that are causing trouble for businesses and homeowners. And this guy's supposed to release them elsewhere. Now, the investigation said, quote, evidence of a culture that tolerated legally and ethically dubious activities, including using an animal that had been drugged with sedatives in violation of federal rules, directing trappers to procure wild animals which were then caught again as part of a script, and wrongly filling out legal documents detailing the crew's wildlife activities.
Wow.
A Manhattan crisis manager following the accusations said, quote, the producers admitted that some animals had been improperly handled, but blamed most wrongdoing on subcontractors. The person who is providing that animal for production is responsible for adhering to those legal requirements, says Patricia Kolapalil, Senior Vice President for Communications for Animal Planet, unquote.
So you're saying you're staging a lot of shit.
Yeah, in other words, half the nuisance animals on this Call of the Wildmen show are literally animals they've caught and then released for the show and then re-caught. There's an actual picture here of a coyote that apparently was used in the show, caught in a trap that's way too small for an animal that size. His heels are basically barely off the floor of this thing for him to stand up.
Ugh.
So that's fucked up.
Makes me angry.
Yeah. I knew there was a reason why I hated the channel. I just didn't know that subconsciously maybe I knew this was all shit. Well, can you believe that our What the Fuck segment has 3 stories about beer?
Sure.
I'm surprised it's not more common.
Okay, well, how about the makers of the Ghost in the Shell making a cyberpunk beer commercial?
Okay.
Sword-wielding warriors traversing a neon-lit city in search of Murphy's Irish Stout. They have an anime version beer commercial.
Someone likes their beer.
No, but I mean a bunch of samurais in a cyberpunk world looking for an Irish beer? The frick ever, man. Let's follow that up by CBS announcing that they have made a beer. The Columbia Broadcasting System has made a beer. And they've created the beer of Klingon Warnog.
Oh, I see this one.
V, are you going to drink this?
No, I don't really drink beer, but...
They've created what they call, quote, a bold beer suited for the harsh Klingon lifestyle, unquote.
Prune juice?
Yes! I would drink prune juice.
Well, I don't know. Maybe if you drank this today would not be such a good day to die because I am hungover. You can bet this stuff will end up in the Drunken Moogle somewhere. And another beer story I have. Do zombies drink beer?
No.
Do they have a need to?
Do they have a stomach?
Well,
some do.
Dock Street Brewing Company has come up with Walker beer. The reason why I ask about zombies is because this beer has been brewed with goat brains.
Ew.
I'm done. No way.
It's an American pale stout brewed with substantial amounts of malted wheat, oats, flaked barley for smooth, creamy mouthfeel. Flugel hops provide delicate, earthy notes, while the cranberries create a sinister, bloody hue and a slight tartness. The pre-sparge brain edition provides this beer with intriguing, subtle smoke notes. In true Walker fashion, don't be surprised if its head doesn't hang around forever. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
But it has genuine smoked goat brains in it. Somebody has way too much time on their hands. And they put it in beer.
They like to share.
Some people drink it without knowing what's in it.
I think we're better off.
I can just imagine the bad jokes, you know. How is it? Oh, it's giving me a headache. You don't have any brains in your head, so now it's in your beer. Do you guys know the name Kim.com?
Nope.
No.
I only became recently aware of this person. Kim.com is a cyber fugitive. He's actually a very large man, but he's a cyber fugitive. And he started a cloud storage firm while he was on bail. And he put it on the New Zealand Stock Exchange, and he's now personally valued at $210 million.
Uh-huh.
The guy's name is Kim Schmidt. He's fighting a bid by U.S. authorities to extradite him from New Zealand for online piracy charges over the site Mega Upload.
Oh.
It was a file-sharing site. They want him for piracy, and apparently, while he's awaiting extradition to see if they're going to do it, he's managed to put together a firm that's now worth $210 million.
Wow.
So he's literally laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah.
Man. There's a man in Australia. Oh, no, I'm sorry. There's a man in Canada who has been put in a mental institution. And he hasn't been put in there for a good reason, in my opinion. He has been put in a mental hospital for handing out $50 and $100 Canadian bills.
Wait, what?
This man's name is Richard Wright. Last week, he was giving out cash to different people he encountered in front of the Halifax Regional Municipality. And he's asking the recipients, thank God for the gift, and if they didn't need the money, pass it on to someone else. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police were called to conduct a wellness check on him, and the officers stopped him, talked with him, and they felt he needed further assessment by a medical health physician, so they put him in a hospital. Apparently, giving away money is a mental disorder in Canada.
That's weird.
Wow, maybe that guy handed me $200 when need to go to the funny farm.
Well, this man's daughter, Chelsea, said that the treatment to her father has been unfair by the hospital and the police. Her father's not been allowed to leave the hospital despite insistence that he has no mental health issues. And she explained that her father worked hard to save money, and when the family was on vacation in Halifax, he just decided to share some of the extras.
What is wrong with people?
I don't know. According to the Health PEI, they wouldn't comment on a specific case, but they released a statement that said that, quote, a patient is always admitted at the clinical recommendation of a physician who has met with and assessed the patient, unquote. I don't quite know what to say. I mean, are they so mad that he was handing out money and he wasn't handing out maple syrup?
It seems improbable.
I just can't imagine the conversation. What are you doing, eh? Well, I'm just handing out money to the populace, eh? Okay, that's too kind, eh? We gotta take you away. I mean, we're Canadians and all that, but we can't just give it away, right? I don't know where this conversation could have gone. Now, if you think the last one was fucked up, I think this was superbly fucked up. There's a 9-year-old Colorado girl. Let me see, what was her name?
Oh, I know. I got this article up here.
I think her name was Cameron Cameron Renfro. She had a friend who had cancer and was going through chemo.
Mm-hmm.
Her friend unfortunately lost her hair.
Mm-hmm.
This girl, Cameron, decided to show her friend how much she supported and loved her by having her own head shaved.
Right.
And the school that they both go to decided that that was inappropriate and suspended her.
Yep.
They suspended her for violation of dress code.
Yep. If I remember correctly, they did the same thing later to another girl who had a boyish haircut and wore, as they termed it, gender-confusing clothes.
School.
Oh, it was
a different school entirely.
Okay.
Well,
I actually got that article up too.
Yeah.
Well, due to public outcry, they reversed and they allowed the girl to go back to school. That's a hell of a lot of micromanaging over someone's hair.
Yeah.
It's literally just way too much. I mean, a certain amount of dress, I can understand that. I live behind a high school, and even I'm surprised some of the short skirts I see walking around here. But her hair's not hurting anybody. And her lack thereof, as long as it's a personal choice and not some weird form of punishment, hey! I got no issue with a girl having a bald head. It'll make me turn and look, but that's it.
Agreed.
Okay, how about from the ridiculous to this literally sublime? Are you guys fans of Bill O'Reilly?
Who?
No.
Bill O'Reilly, he's a Fox News editorialist. He has his own show called The O'Reilly Factor.
I really don't pay attention to the news anymore.
Okay. He made an interesting comparison. Now, Fox News is no secret, is a very conservative news show. They the whole station calls itself Fair and Balanced, which apparently is for whatever Rupert Murdoch tells me to say. He compared himself to another figure because he said that okay, this is his comment, and I don't know on what outlet he put this through, but I'll just read it, and you guys can figure out what he's comparing himself to. Quote, "The O'Reilly haters are pretty much the people that have no idea what I do. And I like that. I mean, I don't have any problem with people disliking me, and I'll tell you why. I'm not comparing myself, but who was the most hated person in Judea 2,000 years ago? Many, many loved him, but just as many despised him. They're always going to do that. If you speak your mind, you're going to have some who like you and some who hate you," unquote.
So he's going the Kanye route, comparing himself to Jesus Christ.
Pretty much, yeah. He's comparing people not liking him as a political figure to being crucified. And I've made it no secret, I am a non-religious person. Doesn't work for me, and it works for others. That's all fine, well, and good. But for someone to have the actual gall to compare themselves to Jesus Christ just because somebody else doesn't like them?
Yeah.
Either he needs to shut up, or we need to take this the full Monty and crucify him and see if this actually pans out. If you're going to do this, we either got to go the whole way or you're full of shit. Those are your two choices, at least in my opinion. What do you guys think?
He just, I guess it's a good thing he didn't compare himself to, oh
Kanye
God,
West?
Kanye West, yeah, that would be hilarious.
It's just like Justin Bieber. Everybody hates me for no reason.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Well, now we've talked about the religious. How about the pseudoscientific?
Oh boy.
And when I say pseudoscientific, it's an interesting article I found on IO9 for a product called Dextrous. It's all based on research on how left-handed people operate. And this apparently is a literal ad. It's a YouTube ad. Let me see. How long is this? It's a minute 54. And I kind of want to share this with you guys because I want to know how this works. Dextrous is a vibrator that's supposed to make you smarter.
Okay.
Do you dare click on the YouTube link I just sent you?
No.
I dare.
So it reminds me of the shake weight.
Oh, the shake weight, yes.
No, this is supposedly a vibrator, according to the ad, exclusively for right-handed people that's supposed to make you smarter. Does it work only for women?
Well, I ain't using it to find out.
Well, according to their ad, it sounds like an English woman speaking. Left-handed people are usually more intelligent than their right-handed counterparts. And left-handed people are 71% more satisfied by their orgasms.
Oh, God. It went there.
Well, yeah, because left-handed people use their artistic minds and they're more sensual thinkers, apparently. The right-handers are the more logical ones. So, do you need an extra vibrator? Can't you just start using your left hand for your vibrator?
Well, no, it's probably something about the actual vibrations.
I'll take your word for it.
I just like how the ad keeps using words like the left-handed orgasm, like only the left hand is capable of doing this. A few discreet squeezes at your desk or office.
I'm not watching it. Nope.
Don't put it out. It's not sexual at all. It's kind of funny, actually.
Yeah.
That's what I'm worried
They're
about.
trying to talk about it very clinically. It's just kind of bizarre to think that this vibrator is supposed to make you smarter.
Wow.
That's funny as hell. Okay. How about this? Facebook. We've talked how that can get you in trouble. It lost that girl, her vacation money because she talked about her father's settlement. Do you know Facebook can get you arrested?
It doesn't surprise me. No.
I believe it.
In 2012, there was a woman named Colleen Cudney. She was convicted for driving under the influence. And as part of her punishment, she was put on probation, okay?
Mm-hmm.
This was last year. The day after St. Patrick's Day, this 22-year-old went to the Westland, Michigan Trial Bureau for a breathalyzer test, and she passed it. She decided to celebrate on Facebook. She said, the day after St. Patrick's Day, on her post, quote, "Buzz torpedo for me. We had to breathalyze this morning, and we drank yesterday. Though we upheld appreciative God. LOL, my dumbass. There's a lot of problems with this standing update. Why don't we go over them?" And let me say that again, just so you understand the context and texture. Buzz torpedo for me. We had to breathalyze this morning, and we drank yesterday. Though we upheld appreciate God. LOL, my dumbass. Okay.
That is confusing.
Yeah, buzz torpedo. I think she means buzzkill. She said breathalyze, and I'm sure she meant breathalyze.
Mm-hmm.
And let's also follow that she was convicted for drunk driving, so she's not supposed to be drinking at all. Although that post admitted she drank. So, the Westland... This post got the attention of a Westland military officer, who afterwards told the trial office. The trial bureau didn't react with, "Oh, well, she put one over on us." No, they called her and told her that they wanted her to take a urine test. And this urine test could detect whether she had any ethanol in her system in an 80-hour period. So, this 22-year-old, this incredibly bright woman, what did she do? She hung up on the trial bureau. You know what that is? That's a parole violation.
Yep.
You cannot disconnect with an officer as they're speaking to you. So she's under arrest and awaiting trial for 3 months in jail.
Some people.
Yeah.
Yep. Choices.
Yeah, she made a bunch of them, and they were all bad. And you know what? She's probably just going to blame the guy who read her Facebook. Never mind the fact that she's a dumbass that did it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Even claimed it.
Yeah. I didn't know that anyone could run for office in Crimea.
Where?
Crimea?
That's the place that just seceded to Russia.
Actually, let me rephrase that. I didn't know anyone could run for office in the Ukraine. And now the Ukraine, as Steve was saying, has lost a province recently to Russia. And they recently threw out a leader. And they're going to have parliamentary elections in the near future. I don't know how quite to say this, so I'm just going to say it. Darth Vader is in the running for the presidency in Ukrainian politics.
Wait, what?
The Internet Party of the Ukraine, which was established in 2007, has filed the necessary paperwork for Darth Vader to appear on the May 25th ballot.
Wow.
The party also made the required monetary deposit of 2.5 million Ukrainian hryvnia, or about roughly $225,000 for candidacy.
I really hope that's someone's genuine name.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. I'm like, now everybody's gonna be shocked when somebody actually shows up. Yes, my name is Darth Vader. My parents are incredible movie fans.
I'm still trying to figure out if this is a put-on, because I can actually see somebody in a Darth Vader mask behind a podium as a stormtrooper, a royal guardsman, another stormtrooper, and Chewbacca are sitting in his council for a apparent news conference. And I can actually show you the video that the Internet Party of the Ukraine apparently put together as Darth Vader's press conference to announce his candidacy. There's actual auditorium cheering as the Imperial theme plays, and this was damn near full.
Oh God!
There is somebody here in a Slavic language yelling at this crowd in a Darth Vader mask, and it's not even like a good Darth Vader mask for a good joke. This is actually a bad Darth Vader mask. It makes me think this may actually exist. There he is hugging his running mate, Emperor Palpatine. I don't know what to say about this, because this is definitely what the fuck to me. Oh, I'm sorry. There he is crying with Princess Leia. I don't know what to say.
Is this serious?
Yes.
You think Russia could build a Death Star?
Yes. But it would be very,
In Russia, Death Star blows itself up. This is messed up, man.
He did not get the light
Man,
bright on
Darth
his
Vader
chest,
is
though.
kind of perfect as a Russian.
Maybe Putin knows him personally. Maybe he'll hunt him shirtless by Tigerback. The last bit of what the fuck news I have was a serious what the fuck. There is there's a 14-year-old in Norwegian, or in Norway, I should say. A 14-year-old in Norway is playing Call of Duty. He lost vision and passed out. He woke up in the hospital.
Huh.
Now, when I say he'd been playing Call of Duty, he'd been playing for 16 hours straight. And when I say he'd been playing for 16 hours straight, the reason, how he achieved this was he had been drinking energy drinks.
Oh, fuck.
Now, it's not quite what you think it is, because he was doing energy drinks. And you know those big bottles of soda, the 2 liters that they sell in the U.S.?
Mm-hmm.
He drank the equivalent of 2 of those. 4 liters of energy drinks to sustain a 16-hour gaming session. Passed out for some reason he didn't understand and woke up in the hospital. Do you know what they told him?
Heart attack?
No. His lack of activity combined with all the sugar and stimulants he drank in the energy drinks had been affecting his nervous system, cardiovascular system, lungs, and kidneys. He was in fucking renal failure.
Ew.
That's what we need to tell cars.
The whole thing's messed up. You know, as the story on Kotaku says, let this be a reminder to all gamers. If you're going to game for 16 hours, maybe try and stay awake the old-fashioned way, or, get some sleep.
Or pace yourself.
Good.
Well, this 14-year-old is now on medication to try and save what's left of his kidneys. There's a combination of things that occurred here. I mean, 1, obviously the kid was stupid. 2, the fuck were the parents?
Mm-hmm.
And why would you store 4 liters of energy drinks in the house? The kid's 14. I mean, I don't think there's any country in the world that will legally allow you to work at that age to buy your own. That means somebody supplied him.
Well, that or the parents went out of town or something, said, hey, you're old enough to look after yourself. Here's some money. And
he totally wasn't.
For food. And he, obviously wasn't.
Yeah, it's just freaking ridiculous.
I don't know. Yeah, it's one of those things, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
I'm sure it did.
Steve and I actually know someone from our WoW days who actually had an incident with energy drinks, but nowhere near as bad as that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hopefully the kid's going to get good treatment.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But you've got a nice axe and you know how to use it. It's +2 against zombies. And the moment you set foot in this campaign, you set a magic missile on my heart, charm person on my brain. Dungeons and Dragons. Yes, I like playing Dungeons and Dragons with you.
From there, we actually have our guests. You've probably heard some Kirby Crackle music. You can find their music at kirbycracklemusic.com. We have Mark Cronan with us, and he's been working on the latest edition of Dungeons and Dragons.
Now, I've just been playtesting the latest version of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not an author of it, but yeah.
Oh. Okay. What were your... Well, first of all, tell us, what do you do normally?
I'm an attorney who runs a manufacturing company by day, and then in the evening I sometimes occasionally write for comicbookresources.com. But for the last 8 months or so, I've been just a volunteer playtest for the recent version of Dungeons & Dragons, and I've been communicating with Mike Merrills, who is the actual named creator on the product, through Twitter plenty, so I'm pretty up to date on where they're headed as far as public information they've released, but I'm not privy, unfortunately, to any private information. If that's
okay.
True.
Well, just listening to the beginning of the description that you're a lawyer running a manufacturing company, I almost expect you to say, and at night I put on a mask and I'm known as the Weasel.
Nerds are everywhere.
My wife does at night put on a mask. She's known as Hygiena. So,
right.
Because she was an actress on a Stan Lee television show where she was a superhero. So there is that in our family. But no, I haven't put on the mask myself.
Okay. I guess I got to turn over the main of the questioning to my colleagues, because they're, like I said, they're much more current gamers than I am, and when it comes to book-based role-playing games. I don't live in places where those circles are easy for me to get to.
Okay.
What do you guys have to ask him?
How much did they change from 4th? Straight up.
I'd say a lot. It is... I would say this edition has more in common with 1st edition, 2nd edition, even original and basic edition than it does with 3rd or 4th editions of the book. It's much more of a throwback to sort of old school Dungeons and Dragons, where the rules aren't the focus of the game. The game is the focus of the game, and the rules just sort of help you play the game.
So is
That's awesome.
It sounds like much more of a free-form, play as you will type of item.
Is it still using a D20 system?
It's still using mostly a D20 system, but there are drastically fewer modifiers to keep track of. You're not looking down at your character sheet all the time to figure out what to do with that D20.
So they took away a lot of math. Good.
It took away a lot of the math. If there's a question as to whether you're better or worse at something, given the circumstances, the DM just tells you to roll 2 D20 and take either the best or the first of those, or the worst of those 2 rolls.
Oh, wow.
Which is a mechanic called advantage or disadvantage. And that takes care of like 90% of the modifiers in the game.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Man, I haven't heard that kind of mechanic before.
I've heard of it, but...
Yeah, it's not new. They've certainly borrowed it from others, but I think it's good to apply it to D&D.
Okay, is it the same general character classes that are available, or did they strip that down as well?
Well, the playtest has somewhat of a strip down, but they've announced most of the character classes. It sounds like, this is not confirmed, but it sounds like anything that's been in a player's handbook in any edition of the game in the past will be in the player's handbook of this edition of the game.
Cool. I almost want to ask about Legend of the Five Rings stuff.
I haven't heard anything about that. They've talked about setting. They're not going to focus on what's known in the industry as splat books. They're not going to put out a whole lot of additional supplemental rule books as they go. So instead, the focus this time is going to be on setting books and on adventures and on things that help you create optional rules in your game, and not on the continual treadmill of here's a new book with a set of new classes and new spells and new feats, and your players can go wild and the DM can cry because it doesn't really fit.
Do you think that has to do with general player economy and the fact that money isn't as prevalent as it used to be?
I think that's a rule. 4th edition really, I don't know how well 4th edition did. There's certainly a debate as to how well it did, but I think we know that it didn't satisfy whatever internal numbers they needed it to satisfy. And so money played some role in canceling it earlier than intended. And I think that they're taking a cue from their competition, which is Paizo, which puts out Pathfinder. and some of the old school Renaissance games, and saying, well, what seems to be selling is not necessarily this treadmill of rule books, but it's things that help a DM just go ahead
Run
with
the
their game.
Yeah. That's definitely what I buy the most, is supplements and stuff.
I think that's what most D&D players have bought the most of at some point. I think I have 4 books just to run one game I was doing.
Yeah.
It's true. I went to a game store recently, Game Empire out of Pasadena, and you can see on their shelf how the games develop, and you see all of 4th edition on their shelves, and then you see all of Pathfinder on their shelves, and it's an entire library. If you just had those 2 games, it's an entire library of books supporting those games. And I just don't... I know when I started back in the late 70s playing D&D, that all I needed was the player's handbook and my character sheet and a pencil and some dice, and that was it.
I love the description of a library of books to play the game. I just have this image of somebody walking into a library, pulling down a book, putting a pipe in, sitting down in a chair, and just going, yes, the warrior. Those were the days.
It's true. It's true. The latest Pathfinder Adventure Path mentions 12 separate supplemental books that aren't the core books.
Jesus.
And you don't necessarily need those, and they're available online if you want to access them for free. But still, that's huge amount of information to play the game. And I think D&D Next is aiming for stripping that all away and going, you don't need all that. You just need to say what your character's going to do, and we'll see if we can work out how it's done.
That kind of reminds me a little bit more of the storyteller system from White Wolf. It's more of a you describe what you're going to do, and maybe a role is involved to back it up, but otherwise it's more about what you're doing, not the roles.
Right. I haven't played that White Wolf system. I've played a couple of half storyteller system, half not, and I would say it borrows a little bit from that. They've announced, this is, I think, something new for D&D Next. They've announced that they're going to publish some modules. Modules is a weird word. Usually, that used to mean adventures, and now it means something else, an attachment to the game. They're going to publish these attachments to the game that allow you to tinker with how your game runs, and they've told us at least 4 of them. One of them is going to be a storyteller game that you can add on to D&D. Which, as far as I know, that's been done by third parties, but that's never been done by either TSR or Wizards of the Coast.
Right, never officially.
That idea. Yeah. And then the 3 others there's going to be a campaign building one where kind of a throwback to the original Dungeons & Dragons, sort of you run your own kingdom stuff. There's going to be a tactical module, which they haven't said it's a 4th edition sort of module, but it sounds like it. You're going to have tactical options for your characters that really increase the level of what you can do in combat. And then the last one is going to be a customization module, which sort of sounds like a 3rd edition module, which allows you to create any sort of character you want using this basic skeletal set of rules. And so using these 4 modules, the theory is at least, whatever type of game you played of D&D in the past, you'll be able to play with 5th edition.
Gotcha.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that sounds... They put in a lot of thought into the individual... Or I shouldn't say the individual, but the 4 main groups kind of identified what they would like, and then, it kind of catered to all of them.
Yeah, it sounds like they put together a game that's basically made to cater to all types of players, really.
That's what they're trying. Yeah, we'll see if it works. There's a lot of resentment against Wizards of the Coast right now. I don't know if it's misplaced or not, but there is definitely a schism in D&D between old school and 3rd edition and 4th edition, and they're trying hard to repair it, but the jury's still out on whether they can actually succeed at repairing that damage that was done.
Is that a philosophy issue, or is that a generational issue? Because this may be the first time that D&D players actually have an old and new generation to them.
I think that's true. I think certainly there's a generational issue with old school and new school, but I think there's a philosophy issue on how the rules should play out between 3rd edition and 4th edition, and mending those fences is a tough road. We'll see if they can do it. I think in my play testing, I feel like they've done that really well, but I'm biased, or I should say I'm one of those guys that is open to whatever they're going to put out and give it a try and see how it goes. And we'll see if it works, but for me, it's working.
Okay. What else have you guys got for him?
What kind of skills are we looking at?
Yeah.
That's an interesting topic for next. They've had variations on the playtest rules over the last year and a half or so. And they, at one point, attempted to make skills just ability checks. So you'd say, I'm going to try to open this door. Okay, roll an ability check. Okay, I'm going to try to climb this wall. Okay, roll a dexterity check.
Actually,
and people...
That actually sounds like something they took out of the storyteller system, actually.
That's well, original D&D was that way. It was just you said what you wanted to do, and you roll a D. Actually, back then it was roll a D20 and try to roll under your dexterity or whatever. That's how AD&D and 1E and 2E worked. And now that did not meet with success from their playtesting feedback, and so they've added in a skill system that only slightly modifies that system. And now everybody chooses a background for their character. The background doesn't have to match your class. It just has to match your character concept. And your background comes with some skills that you're trained in. And when you're trained, you get a bonus to the skill. There's one last modifier, and that's expertise, where I think they're changing that now, actually. But certain classes, like the thief rogue, gets expertise. So it's sort of a double modifier to that particular skill. But anybody can try it. So let's say you're untrained in lock picking or opening locks, you can just try a raw dexterity check. If you're trained with lockpick tools or whatever, then you have a bonus to it. I think it's a bonus that we can talk about that. It's a universal proficiency bonus that applies to all kinds of things in the game, so you don't have to keep track of much. But you get your proficiency bonus if you're trained, and then if you're an expert, you get double your proficiency bonus.
I'm liking half the things you're describing, because my version of D&D is just basically a bunch of guys sitting around. We all get down together, grab a couple bottles of water, call the pizza guy, have him here in an hour because we're killing some frickin' orcs.
Indeed,
that's my game, except substitute the water with like a wine cooler or something.
Yeah, it was Mountain Dew for me when I was young. Now it's beer. So.
Can't have more ways than one.
That's right. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it always frustrated me because no matter what group of guys you have or how much fun you have, there's always that one person who just kind of frowns whenever you start telling a joke or go a little bit off topic, and he wants you to get so far into the game that you can't see your own eyes anymore.
Oh, I hate that. That has been every single storyteller game I've ever played in.
Unfortunately for me, I'm not
systems.
proud to admit to this, I'm actually that guy.
I think a good DM can make it work with any group. It doesn't, or GM. You get all types, and there's too little time in life to worry about that kind of stuff. So you just make it work. That guy will smile at something.
Yeah, that's true.
How
you can go ahead. Yeah,
I was gonna say how fluid is combat?
Combat is much faster than either third or fourth edition. It runs much faster. In fourth edition, I was finding, and I didn't dislike fourth edition like a lot of people did, but it definitely became cumbersome. And I had combats go an hour and 20 minutes, hour and a half even, and that I felt was getting to a level of ridiculousness. The game became combat because you only have a certain amount of time. I'm a dad, and I have a busy life, and I don't have time to play like I used to when I was a kid and all day. So I've only got 2.5 hours, 3 hours, maybe 4 hours for a game, and if I'm only doing 2 combats and that's it, then it's not really D&D as much to me. But combat is much more streamlined so far in 5th edition. It's 20 minutes or less, 10 minutes or less, depends on what you're facing.
Wow.
But it's deadly, but it's fast.
Jeez. What's your preferred character class? Are you a spellflinger, or do you prefer to impale things?
I'm DMing right now, but that's a good question. I always like to take. I'm that guy who comes to the table and says, "What's everybody else taking? I'll fill in the gap."
Yeah,
I think a lot of DMs are that way. You just care about making things go smoother. Because once you've been on that other side of the DM screen, you know how hard it is when things aren't going smooth for the DM.
Yeah.
So
I think I'm always I think I'm that player that makes DM always scratches their heads. You're the most impassionate, weird, upfront, fist flailing guy I've ever seen. So why are you always playing elves, archers, and freaking monks? I'm just having fun with it.
Yeah, well, you want
Something
to play
different.
against
Steve.
You know what? I've been playing a monk lately, but I think you're just biased because I'm kicking all your monsters' asses.
And I'm actually keen to make it more challenging too. Damn dice hate me.
Did you guys see the most recent Community episode of D&D? I don't know if that got out there.
No.
Oh, Community, a TV show that's got very low ratings. But Joel McHale does a good job with it, and there have been 2 D&D episodes now, and this most recent one was just last week. And Wizards of the Coast worked with them a little bit behind the scenes to make sure that they got a little bit of a plug in there. There's a module scene at the end of the game, or an adventure scene at the end of the game that's from the most recent edition. So,
okay,
that's cool.
I appreciate they're doing a little bit of marketing.
Episode.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was fun.
What's the funniest random event you've come across, Mark? I mean, has there been any encounters with demonic syphilis or anything?
No, let me think. That's a good question. We're using. I've not been playing in person lately, which is too bad, but that's just how life goes. And so we've been using an online system called Roll20, and that's something I've noticed that with Roll20, which is a great system, by the way. But
I gotta find that.
Oh yeah, it's free and it's brilliant. They did a Kickstarter to kick it off originally, and they're adding all kinds of features all the time. And I really encourage people who are separated from their old gaming groups across the country to just give it a try. And I don't work with them. I mean, I don't make any money for saying anything about them, but they're great.
That's okay. That could give V and me a chance to annoy Steve and Jesse during gaming sessions. This could be awesome.
I really look forward to it if I can figure out how to operate the damn thing.
Yeah, there's also other things like fantasy realms and stuff like that.
Well, let's let our guests finish.
Yeah. Sure. No. I mean, I agree. There's lots of good systems online, but that's something that obviously wasn't available 10 years ago. But I'm finding that for me, unless I have somebody's face in front of me, it is harder to be ridiculous. And I try, really do. But that there's a certain something about live gaming that you just can't replicate online. That something ridiculous happens at the table, and you have to. It's a visual gag, and
the cat jumps on the table.
Exactly. Yes.
I don't. You know what? I don't know. We do face-to-face gaming here, and our best story had no visual gag. It's just our one guy saying he hangs this lantern sticking out of our. What was
GM's? Our GM's overpowered NPC had an arrow sticking out of him, and one of our friends, it was pretty much his first D&D experience. He's using this scythe, so he needs both his hands free, so he hangs the lantern off of the arrow and then goes charging into battle.
Yes, not only made the NPC character speechless, but made the GM, who never stops talking, speechless.
I have a little bit of a story like that, I guess. We had our DM had a very long adventure planned, and he had been working on this for ages. And we arrive in town, the very first adventure, very first day of on this. We arrive in town, and we're on the docks, and there's a pirate ship, and he mentions there's a pirate ship of orcs there. And this guy said, "Well, I charge," and he's like, "You what?" And he's like, "I charge. They're orcs. They're pirates. I'm charging," and this look of fear in the DM's eye, and so
I see that fear.
Yeah, and so because he had nothing rolled up for these orcs, it was just color, and so our combat takes place, and the character dies. Actually, the guy who charged dies, but we capture this pirate ship, and of course we have a pirate ship. What do you do when you have a pirate ship? You go sailing, and so he's like, but the adventure, and so we went sailing, and he just threw away everything he had been working on for months and started all over from scratch. We found an island. It was a good adventure.
Actually,
it's good to sandbox the world and just have like a bunch of creatures and things that are happening and let the guys go at it. I think I've never really run an adventure.
I actually joined a game midstream with Steve that was Legend of the Five Rings. It was the first time I was ever exposed to that system, and they had a player that was already well established. The cousin of the DM had this 4-foot-tall lion samurai who was dumb as dirt, ugly as sin, but strong as an ox. If he punched something, it fell down. It was just a given. And at one point, somebody found a chest, and they opened it up, and it had these weird mystical boots in it. And somebody was looking at them, picked them up gently, and was cradling them softly. And then the player suddenly, for this lion, suddenly said he grabs the boots and puts them on, and we're all like, "The fuck, what?" And then he puts on the boots, and suddenly he's running at like 20 miles an hour all over the place, just zipping all over the field. And the guy who held the boots is screaming at him, trying to chase him. The lion came running by with a screaming punch and just put him down in one hit. And I remember the rest of us just looking at each other on the couch, and I said, do we take those away? And just said, fuck, I'm not going near him. He can have the boots.
And so then we had our trap finder for the rest of the game because he never had the patience to wait for anybody. So he just ran ahead. And he always talked about himself in the third person. The lion does this. The lion does that.
Yeah,
you know, and
I thought that's what the character of the guy who's not there that night is supposed to be doing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Fred's not here. He does head in the room. What's he find? Yeah.
Well, and then that same game, the GM said, "Well, I'd like all of you to roll up an extra character because it's going to get especially deadly right now, and I don't want to have to worry about losing somebody." So we bring in this entire new group of characters, which are essentially functioning as NPCs, and
except we were rolling them, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, well, we rolled them all up, but they and I wasn't there for one game session, and the same character managed to get all of our newbies killed in one trap. And I was so pissed.
Yeah, our thief. I remember that our thief was terribly inept, and for some reason we were standing. Oh no, that was another game. Was it another game?
No, it wasn't.
I just remember one of those games where we were playing. I was playing a monk, and one of our friends was playing a thief, and he found a trap. He just said, I wonder what'll happen if I try to disarm this. And as soon as he tried, he set it off. It blew up. It killed half the party. It maimed the other half. And somehow the thief and my monk were completely unharmed. We both rolled saves successfully. So our best guess was he was standing right on top of this thing as it went off. So he was in the eye of the explosion, and I guess my monk was doing a handstand on his shoulders.
Yeah, those damn evasion rolls.
Nice. What editions have you guys played in the past? Where you're at?
I actually started back in third. I had not dealt with the original or advanced.
Yeah, I've been going since second edition.
I've played D&D 3rd edition. I've played some Pathfinder with these guys, and I ran a modern D20 game that was crossed over with The Legend of the Five Rings in the Urban Arcanum book.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've played since 3rd edition, and played a little bit of 4th edition and Pathfinder, and run some games and played some other stuff. And I'm familiar with 2nd edition through the computer games.
Right.
I've never played. That's the only edition I haven't played is 2nd edition, but not because I don't like it, but just because I just missed it. And the most common thing I've heard about D&D Next is that it's sort of like a 2nd edition. Or it's like 2.5. That it's what would have happened if they had kept going on the trend set by. No, it's not. It's still ascending the AC, but other than that, they have. Published the stats for 2nd edition and 1st edition adventures so that you can play them in D&D Next, and it apparently works really well. There's very little conversion necessary.
In
fact...
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that the thing that struck me is this means we could actually make an urban druid that makes sense all of a sudden.
Yeah, I guess you could with the background, sure. The creators of the game have been doing a video playtest every once a month or so. And they ran the A1 through A4 Slave Lords series back from the 70s in D&D Next, just to show how easy the conversion really is from the old school type games into the new one.
Nice.
And it worked really well, yeah. But yeah, so it's sort of a...
Temple of Elemental Evil from 2nd edition. That was...
Ooh, that'd be fun. Yeah.
We got bogged down in that in 3rd edition. Just that was quite a slog of an adventure. Just went on forever.
This does all sound really interesting and groovy, actually. Is the 5th edition being called D&D Next?
Yeah, they haven't announced what it's being called yet. They still don't even have a verified release date. We just think it's going to be Gen Con of this year, and we know it's going to be this year. We know it's going to be summer at some point for something. but they haven't really pegged down what the release date is. Okay. There was this weird blip on BarnesandNoble.com that showed it appear for like a couple days, and then it disappeared again. So there's speculation that said August, and so maybe it'll be August. But
actually, where is Gen Con occurring this year?
It's still in Indianapolis. It moved from Milwaukee to Indianapolis about a decade ago or so, and that's where it's at.
There was an LA show not too long ago, but I missed it.
Yeah, there was a Gen Con West Coast for a few years, and they canceled that, unfortunately.
Oh.
They still have the Strategicon gaming conventions out here, but no affiliation with Gen Con.
Okay. I got a question, and I'm interested to know the answer. Are you a LARPer, too?
I'm not. I don't have anything against LARPs. When I was young, I played a LARP and didn't even know that's what I was doing.
Yeah, me too.
We had padded swords and armor and such, and I had a great time. I loved doing that, but I've never done a formalized this is a LARP and here are some rules.
Yeah, I guess my problem is I've always been kind of interested in LARPing, but it seems more likely that you're going to run into those people that take themselves a little too seriously to actually have fun.
I think that was true during the Vampire Masquerade era. For sure.
You're so right.
But I don't know about nowadays. I don't know. If you find the right group, I think anything can be fun.
The last group what?
The last group I was involved with turned out to be a little crazy.
What they make you do?
Just the people were crazy, not the game.
Okay. I'm curious to know this story now. This sounds like a soap opera.
Yes, a long one, so not for now.
No. Oh.
There is. I'll say there is something back east that I do want to try. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but there is a very formalized sort of summer camp almost LARP that's apparently amazing. The description I hear of it, and again, I wish I knew the name of it. I think it's back in Massachusetts, perhaps.
Is it
they do this every year. No, it's not SCA. It is definitely a fantasy-related sort of LARP, but there are a lot of people who go to it that have no idea what a LARP is or what a role-playing game is, and there's a story that's been evolving for decades, I guess, through this group, and you're only allowed to go one time. After you go, you know the story, and so you can participate as a behind-the-scenes person or actor in this, but you can't be a player. And you stay overnight, and you go through this evolved story, and every report I've heard is that this thing is just really an incredible experience, and people come out of there feeling confident and wanting to go back and wanting to tell everybody they know about it, but they can't tell anything about the story, and it just sounds like a really fun experiance. So
that sounds amazing.
Yeah, I would love to try that. Maybe someday when I can afford to go back there and spend a week back there. Now that I have a kid, that's a little bit difficult, but
yeah, you should try it with my brood.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Timing is a prima. That does sound like a curious experience, because I've been considering looking into LARPing as an alternative since I can't reach my D&D friends normally, and I found out that there is a convention going on Memorial Day weekend out at LAX.
Yeah, that's the Strategicon one, right?
Oh, WeirdCon is that?
No, it's Strategicon is the main name, and then they have different names for each individual con, like OrcCon or I don't remember their other names. But
yeah, I found WeirdCon in regards to LARPing. WYRD.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go for it. Give it a try. I think the more you try, the better your gaming is. So.
I figure a convention would be a good chance to actually stand around and observe people for a little while, because people watching at conventions is easy. That just not a lot of people do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. You should try Roll20. If you can't get your old group back together, though, you should try something or any of the other online versions. But there's a lot of really good online gaming at this point.
Well, actually, as we were talking, I signed into the place and I was looking over their forums and everything, looking for players. But my other thought was actually getting some of the people in this room together for some kind of bi-weekly kind of event and just snark around and pass stories and do something ridiculous for a little while.
I'm down
with that. Down with that.
I'd be up for it. Yeah, get at least one game together and see how it goes.
Yeah, you never know. Sometimes
I apologize.
No, it's okay.
I apologize for being quiet here in the background. I'm looking for this thing back east. So
it's okay. I mean, we've had your time for half an hour already. I wanted to ask the others if they had anything else to ask you in regards to the playtest.
Sure.
Magic.
I was kind of.
How is the magic? fix it from 4th edition. Please tell me they fixed it.
I need to know what you think is broken so that I can know if they fixed it. The magic,
Okay,
let's see. There is a little bit, I guess this is the most controversial bit. There is a little bit of at-will magic, but it's only a little bit. There's cantrips that every spellcaster has. Okay. There's cantrips, and those cantrips you can cast as often as you wish. And then there are some spells that can be done as a ritual. So if you have the time, a minute to 10 minutes to do it, then you can cast that without using a spell slot. You can cast it essentially as much as you want. But then the other spells are mostly Vancian. I used Vancian with quotes around it because it's not really. You have fixed spell slots and you have fixed things you memorize for the day, but you can use those spell slots to cast anything that you've memorized.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
No, I think I get that.
If you've memorized Magic Missile and you have 4 first level spell slots, you can use all 4 from Magic Missile, sort of like the Cleric used to be.
Right.
Or you can use it for different spells.
That's cool. And my biggest complaint with 4th edition Magic was that you couldn't find scrolls in the world. You couldn't find magic in the world. It just took a lot of the fun out of acquiring magic power.
I agree. That was a drawback. There are scrolls. One of my players just found some scrolls and added it to his spellbook. He's very happy.
Awesome.
And there is that's a good topic actually. There's a lower level of magic in the world for this reason. There's something called bounded accuracy, which is a philosophy they've embraced for D&D Next that is new for D&D. And that it says this. Armor classes aren't going to go to crazy levels. Attack bonuses aren't going to go to crazy levels. And so from the beginning of the game that the highest level ACs of a Balrog or your toughest creatures aren't going to be beyond, like, let's say the mid-20s of armor class. And your attack bonuses aren't going to be beyond, say, plus 12 or something like that. And so you can challenge your players with a lot of low-level creatures, even if they're high level. And you can challenge and challenges at high levels are going to feel just as difficult or easy as they were at lower levels. One of the ramifications of this, though, is that you're not going to find like a magic sword that's beyond a +1 most of the time. You're not going to find magic armor beyond a +1 most of the time. And so, because they want to control all these bonuses to your attack bonus or to your armor class. So to sort of solve the issue of, okay, if you have so many fewer magic items, that's not going to be as interesting. They've required, or at least they suggested, that you make every piece of magic item that you find much more unique. So, for example, my players just found a magic battle axe, and it has a history to it. It has a creator, and it has a race that created it, and that's obvious in looking at it. And it has a couple of minor abilities. One of them is that you can have your voice heard anywhere within 500 feet if you wish. So to sort of emulate that whoever owned this was a leader of the dwarves. And it also has a drawback in that it makes you slowly become greedy over time. So the player decides how that works, but he's going to decide how more often his character is going to become more and more greedy over time because he's wielding the sword. And that all comes in sort of a standard package with magic items, that all the magic items are going to have a name and they're going to have a description and minor powers to make up for the fact that you're only going to find a +1 magic weapon, not that +5 Vorpal blade.
Okay. Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah, getting back to
but I mean, it's
oh, sorry.
It's definitely a change from prior editions because, you're used to having this Christmas tree of magic items on your character, and I don't know how people are going to react to that they're not going to have the magic boots and magic ring and magic sword and armor and shield and all that stuff.
I'll be honest.
They're going to have some of that, but yeah.
I'll be honest, I kind of like that idea. I kind of tone things down because right now, I'm GMing my own campaign right now, and I'm having a problem with these guys and trying to pose a challenge without making some uber gigantic monster to throw out that could just outright kill them in one shot.
Hey, I only said I wanted to seduce the townspeople. It was your fault that the bridge troll came after me.
Nice. Yeah, that's.
I'm kind of curious.
I've heard the mythic. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, I'm kind of curious about the ability scores. We're still sticking with the standard 6 strength, dex, con, and wisdom, charisma.
Yep,
Oh, it's good.
standard ones, and they've actually maxed those out now too. So
Okay.
you can through natural means you can only get to a maximum of a score of 20. You can't go beyond 20. Through magical means you can go beyond, but there aren't that many magic items that will do it. But through normal means you can only go to the maximum of 20.
So still the standard 3d6, and so then according to races and so forth, you could start it at 20, or are they a little more standardized with the?
You could start it at
With the
20.
ability.
It's a little bit more rare, but yeah, that could be done. But the advantage, I think, of maxing out at 20 is you're not constantly focused on pouring everything into one ability score, because you'd have the guy who has the 28 dex and they go first in every round and they hit with their arrow every round and they can dodge anything that comes at them. By maxing out, that I think is part of bounded accuracy, and it makes it so that the game runs a little bit smoother throughout all the levels. At least that's the hope.
I can almost hear Jesse breathing a sigh of relief.
Well, Jesse has to deal
also-
with me that rolls uber stats, and the rest of the group is like, why can't I do that?
Because Steve looks for the loaded dice.
You know what?
make
I
up-
started using Kirk's scientific D6 dice, those two plus the others, and that's what I just rolled up my my gnomish barbarian with, and she's got really good stats too. So,
Mark, what were you about to say?
Oh, I was going to say. By the way, I love those scientific dice for some reason. They just feel right. But I was going to say that the way that feats work in the game is feats are an optional part of the game. I think a lot of games will use them, but they're optional. But you get a feat roughly every 4 levels, or you can get an ability score increase of +2. But that only maxes out again at 20. So if you want to remove feats from the game, it's easy. Everybody just gets +2 every 4 levels or so. And if you want to add them back in, then people can choose feats which are roughly balanced against getting a +2 to an ability score.
This all sounds really
So
great.
that makes, yeah.
well, so raising your
them
ability score
powerful
by
feats.
2 obviously makes you doing skills and other things. So would it be, or in your experience, would it be better to get that ability score increase compared to getting a feat?
Well, they've balanced the feats against that, so they know that's the option you have.
Right.
And so the feats are now usually what I would call an uber feat. They're not like 3rd edition or 4th edition. They're now, a feat is a very rare thing, and yet it has like 3 different abilities in it. Things that could have been 3 different feats in prior games are now locked into one thing. There's the archery feat, right? You have the archery feat, which has lots of archery abilities to it, or the great weapon feat, or things like that. And so you get a lot from that one feat.
Okay.
So it makes it a challenge to decide: do you want to increase your ability score, or you want to take the feat?
Right.
All right. Well, I think we've taken up enough of your time, and you've given them a lot to think about, and I'm sure Steve and Jesse will argue about a couple of others. I really do want to thank you for stopping by and taking time out of your obviously busy schedule to speak with us.
No problem, guys. Thanks. It was a lot of fun.
All right. Appreciate it. I'll let you know if my wife has any messages to pass on.
Fair enough. Yeah, we're members of the Geeklings and Parental Units, which my wife runs, and so yeah. Fair enough.
And I guess before you go, is there anything, any place they can find you on the internet for anything to keep track of?
That's a good question. I'm Mistwell on enworld.com or .org, I guess it is these days, and that's where you'll find me talking about D&D most of the time. Is as Mistwell at enworld.org.
All right, awesome.
All right, cool.
Well, thank you very much for stopping by. I look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks. You guys have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too.
All right, now he's given us a couple of things to think about, as well as a possible online forum for us to do stupid shit in.
Yeah, I actually was aware of that roll 20, months ago.
That mention was the first time I'd heard of it, but now I'm curious about it. Man, that was a long show, and that was actually fun.
Yes.
You know, I think we learned a lot about where D&D is going, thankfully.
Yeah.
Let me see. What should we do next week? Has that Star Trek storyline finished?
What?
I'm unaware.
The Star Trek
The
alternate
Star Trek
universe
comic.
thing that you pointed out to me?
I'm
I
pretty
don't
sure it was
see.
finished. It was just a two-part. It was just a two-part mini episode type thing. So.
All right. When do you guys look that up and find out if that's done? If that is, we might as well just do that next week, because that would be definitely outside our norm. In the meantime, I'm trying to figure out whether or not I'm actually anime. I was discussing with Brandon that things out there just aren't progressing well. They still don't have an actual website up. But they haven't mentioned anything about events. They haven't mentioned anything about guests. And for Brandon and I, we got to spend probably about $200 each in renting a car and trying to get up there. And then it's the idea of, if we don't know what we're going to see, what's the point?
Yeah, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we won't know till we get there, and even then, we're kind of on a harried schedule because he and I are trying to make plans for the San Diego area during Comic-Con. So, as you can imagine, that could take up a serious amount of change. But, let me see. I'm trying to think if we should leave it at that, or we should have some kind of alternative idea just in case. And what the hell should that alternative idea be? I got an idea. If the Star Trek storyline is not done, the first 5 issues of The Exiles. You guys remember what that series was? The Exiles is kind of
the ones where the
yeah, they're a dimension-hopping team in the Marvel universe of people from different versions of existing Marvel characters that were put together forcibly by someone who's trying to have them fix events in all these dimensions. But it's not one of those things where if you fail, you're sent home. If you fail, you die. You don't get to go back to your world.
and your world is destroyed.
Yes. I think it's a groovy idea, and it's a different type of storytelling, because as much as you're familiar with certain characters already, you may run into different versions of these guys and make you wonder just what went wrong in their lives.
Yeah, like the Iron Man that got his suit depowered down, and they were just having the kids spit in his eye holes because he was such an ass.
Yeah.
Or Blink, who didn't know who the Hulk was. Oh, God.
Or how about Judge She-Hulk?
I had forgotten about that one.
All kinds of stuff. So, research the Star Trek thing. If it's finished, then we'll read that. If not, we'll just read the first 5 issues of Exiles for the sake of fun.
Okay.
All right?
Sounds good.
I'm looking for it right now, actually.
Okay. Well, that sounds about it. I appreciate everyone stopping by, and we again want to thank Mark Cronan for coming by and explaining a lot more than we ever thought we'd find out about the current D&D chapter being worked on. Thank you very much. I invite you to tune with us again next week. I am Jeremy.
Steve. Jesse.
And V.
Have a great one. I'm really curious how well you could do a case of demonic syphilis in this game. I don't think it would take much to do.